Hello, everyone. So our skeleton couldn't find his way out of the closet, so session's canceled. Today with me are Josh.
What up, Rise and Grind gamers?
Matt.
How's all my tarnished out there doing?
And Isaiah.
Hey, yo, Matt, you a bitch. I was going to make an Elden Ring reference. You didn't even make a good one. Fuck you.
If it wasn't obvious, we've all been playing Elden Ring.
Hell yeah, bud. Let's date this video already.
That's true. Yes, that will date the, whatever.
Hey, let him get away sometimes. All right.
The internet's loose. We'll figure out the exact coordinates.
Yeah. I'm your
Out
host.
here with the maidens, homies.
Oh my God.
No maidens.
And today's topic is loot. Specifically, not the instrument. But
no, you said we were talking about the instrument, Sam.
No.
lied to me.
No. I did not say that. You said that, and I just went along with the bit. Anyways, fucking Christ.
Alrighty, right
killing
out the gate. Let's go.
Wow, we're real good at this.
Yes, sir.
Loot, how you give it to your players, and how you explain how whatever. Let's say you were using a loot table and you somehow managed to get Vorpal sword. How do you explain how the Goblin Chief got a Vorpal sword? Like stuff like that. And if you wanna get extra gamer points from me, you can explain your process of how
Gamers?
you pick magic items to give to your players.
Rise and Grind.
I'm rolling a metaphorical die, and I'm picking Isaiah to start us off.
Fuck. All right.
Specifically because we were talking about magic items to give your players the other day.
This is true.
We were.
Well,
shit.
but-
All right.
Hold on. We have a point of order.
Do we?
Yes, we do.
Do we?
In the land of the internet, you've been hearing it the entire time since episode 1, but because we pre-recorded a bunch of things, we have the backing track we have. You credit that. Matt, you wanna get over?
Yeah. The song Slow Slip was made by my good buddy Kevin Dubois, also known as Kevin Dude Beast, because he is the beast on guitars.
I thought
This
it
guy
was
is literally
Kevin Dub Beast.
No, it's
Oh, it was
Dude
the-
Beast.
Du Beast?
Dude Beast.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Also, isn't it Slow Sip?
Slow
Yeah,
Slip. Yeah.
it's slow.
Oh, you said slip. I was
Oh,
kidding.
slip.
He can't do
Yeah.
Percy Glaxon. He
I
can't
can't do anything.
Ah.
My
I just
I
noticed
full
you
yes.
door.
changed your name in Discord.
But yeah,
Um,
any
I-
whoozin'.
I
Kevin is the man. He makes good music. Give him a follow on Instagram at Kevin DU Beast.
Yeah, we have his Instagram linked in the description and on YouTube. So you can find it there if you want to find any of his stuff. Making sure to do the shout out now because we couldn't do it before because we didn't have the song yet. We weren't just
'Cause
ignoring
we
his
forgot.
existence.
I could have sworn we were doing it at the end. And then, I'm not looking at Discord to see your messages.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's okay.
Oh,
Yeah, it's fine. All right. Thanks, Kev. You're the real OG. We love
Anyways,
you.
Isaiah,
Your song's
please
a banger.
Yeah.
It is a banger.
take us away with your magical item.
Okay,
or
well, so,
loot
all right, here's the
process.
thing. So this is kind of where shit gets tricky. Because, as you all know, the system I use doesn't use magic. So I got to get a little more creative. The system that I use, which again is Hellscape's creators evade me, but they made hyperlanes, which is it's pretty cool. It has this thing called personalized items, and this is gonna lead back into how I just do magic in standard 5e because they do run one shots in 5e. But the way that I usually do it is I like to first and foremost play with tags, and you can sort of do that with the personalized items. They sort of say if you don't really like how one thing jives, you as the game master can sort of give something another item's, I can't remember what they're called, attribute. When we're just talking about non-magic shit, I'll often give players I'm so frazzled. I was not expecting to go first. Fuck.
You're welcome.
Surprise, motherfucker.
You bastards. All right, so
Wasn't me.
I know.
Gotta keep you on your
So
toes.
a good example is if I want to give someone a kind of special thing, right? I'll give them a Greatsword, but instead of it doing 2d6, it'll do 3d4, which you have a higher chance of kind of rolling low, but you will on average get more middle of the line results. If you combo that with something like Great Weapon Fighting and you can reroll ones, it can lead to some really boss rolls, which kind of leads into the personalized items because I will often either have an idea for something that I want to give them in my head and for a quick understanding of how personalized items work, it's a mundane item that has special mods on it that you can give. So like one mod is like it has like a grappling hook. Another one is that it's like covered in spikes. Another one is that it has, you know, a car battery hooked up to it. So it's got like a taser function, shit like that. And I'll just sort of think of how a sort of James Bond style problem, and then I'll try to think of solutions to that problem. And that kind of leads into how I think about it for 5e. I'm trying to figure out my train of thought now.
I mean, I think.
Shut up.
I think tailoring is a good, just in general, like no matter what game system, tailoring English magic items to players, and like I think that's just a good thing in general.
Wait, what do you mean?
Making magic items for specific players.
Oh, tailoring it to okay.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, making it for players.
You said tailoring, and I was like,
you
are we
custom
making
fit
dresses?
Yeah, you custom fit the sword so the player
Suits.
wear it. You know.
Yeah, pretty much.
English language failing Josh here.
Failing off. Me and Josh have been drinking the XP smoothie still after the last couple episodes.
Smoothies.
Oh God, please. So yeah, I mean that's usually how I like to go about it. Because I when I do run standard 5e one shots or mini campaigns, I usually don't like to just shell out a bunch of magic items. I usually leave those as rewards for like boss fights or particularly high investigation checks where the players have to like specifically use their investigation. 1 second, Josh, I see you raising your hand, in tandem with like describing how they do something, because I don't usually people just being like, I roll perception, or like, can I roll perception? It's always, how do you do it? What's the steps that you take? And some people would argue I'm kind of putting them on the spot for that, but like, yes, I am, because I like to see my players be creative.
There's precedent there. That's a lot of old.
Yeah,
that's basically how old D&D functioned. Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. You're messy. You're being.
I was I was gonna say, or I was gonna ask you, because so with D&D or not even just D&D, with fantasy settings, right? It's basically a presumed assumption that you will generally find magic items in a dungeon or in the monster's horde, or the wizard will reward it to you as a quest, or right? We all kind of have an expectation with fantasy settings where the cool magical items are going to come from. So what I was going to say is, with Hellscapes, how do you decide when to deliver the personalized items and our magic items? Because nobody watches Mad Max and expects Mad Max to go through a dungeon and then find a really cool shotgun at the end of it. You know what I mean? Like that's not a genre assumption that anyone has.
True. So I do think about that, but so to use the same Mad Max example, right? Anybody who's anybody has something that means something to them, right? The average bandit might be too out of their fucking mind to like really, really like their axe. I mean, I guess if you want to use like Krieg from Borderlands as an example, he does very, very much treasure that axe of his. But when you think of Max Rockostansky, a few things stick out, right? It's his car, and it's the shotgun that never works. Or for Furiosa, it's that fucking SNK that she rocks in that movie, and her robot arm.
Which character is Rockostansky?
Max Rockostansky, the main character? Max?
Oh, that's his last name? I didn't know.
Yeah, it's Rockotansky, sorry.
Okay. Yes, I mean, yeah, he does kind of have his signature shotgun, although it's not implied to be any different than a normal one necessarily.
No, it just jams a lot. Like that's a thing in the movie.
Yes.
So yeah, anyone who's anybody has one of these, and it could be as simple as like it means something to them, and the game sort of like allows for that to be a thing, right? One of the mods it has is personal history, which only affects that one person, but as long as that mod exists, it can be changed to a different person if they spend enough time with it, and then it then means something to them. So like if a player's, this is perfect. So one of my players, she's from like a tribe of warriors roughly based on Native Americans, because my setting takes place in the US in the post-apocalypse. And her father had this super intricate, detailed, engraved crossbow that has a thing on it, the personal history mod. And technically speaking, it would only mean something to the father character, who is now dead. But now that she has it and it comes with that mod, she won't have to install it herself. It just will transfer onto her with enough time.
Okay.
She also has like a... Go on.
You're going with basically, if I'm understanding, your primary method is going with the idea that the personalized item is being taken from another person, usually?
Yes, and something I did forget to mention is that Hellscapes very vaguely says that anything can become a personalized item if you care about it enough, right? Like if you spend enough time with it, if you take time practicing with it, anything can become that good.
So your starting pistol, you could eventually make a magic item.
Yeah, and I've written rules in that I've homebrewed myself because as far as I'm aware, Hellscapes is it's past beta, but it's like version 1.15 or something. It's really early on. So for my game, it's if you tell me, because that's the big thing, and players are always like, my weapon can't get modern, like, because you need to tell me about it. But if they tell me, like, okay, during this downtime or during travel, I'm going to, like, spend time with my weapon, I'm like, okay, and I'll make a clock for it, as in, like, Powered by the Apocalypse, or
Blades.
Yeah, the Blades clocks, I've implemented those as well. So I'll put that up, and it's like, okay, every 8-hour interval that you spend with this thing, it will bump up 1 tick. And you can, whenever my players are in downtime, they get 2 actions a day for 8-hour intervals. So it's like,
do you have them roll a check for that, or you just say time spent, get point?
You just time spent, get point, because they can't do anything else while they're doing it.
Oh, okay.
So it's like, oh, well, if you have 3 days of downtime, you could like scavenge, go like try to find a vendor or kill shit for experience, or you can personalize your weapon and then modify it. And then the modding, it's not like for free, like it takes a certain amount of material, it takes time, and the initial application to the weapon requires a roll. And if you fail the roll, it's kind of weird the way they do it. It just says that you can't ever try to put it on the same weapon ever again, which is kind of stupid in my opinion.
Yeah, it doesn't really make sense fictionally.
Yeah, so for me, I just prefer to say the mod breaks. Like, right, you're like, you don't have a silencer, you have a paint can and some adapters, and you're just trying to like jury rig the thing together. So, you try to put it on the gun, maybe the can punches a hole in or the adapter fails. You just have to make another one. It's another like 2 days of work and some metal and plastic.
So have you... Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, if the players find pre-made mods, so like if they scavenge an old abandoned gun store and they find a silencer, that doesn't require an application roll because it's like a real, like it's a machined
an
object.
Actual, yeah. It's manufactured. So have you ever done the thing where it's like, okay, so we go in the dungeon and there's like a magic sword in the chest. Have you done the equivalent of that in Hellscapes at any point? Or have you just like subverted that trope and just been like, no, it just doesn't work that way?
Yes, but not with like... So I've done it, I think I've done it 2 or 3 times where it's like you just find a cool thing. One of them is it's probably as close to a magic item as I'm willing to go. It's a like collar, like a choker thing that they can put on with like an apparatus in the back.
I remember
that
this. Yeah.
Any of the mutant characters, and when I say mutant, there's 3 technical races. I don't know why I did quotes with 3 fingers. Races.
Quotes that no one can see.
Yeah, quotes that no one can see with 3 fingers on other hand, sure.
Don't worry, viewer, listener, whatever. I can't see their video either, so it's fine. I'm in the same boat.
So the mutants in the game are like X-Men basically, and they all like, you get to pick like certain powers that you get that you can like swap out every level, and they let you do certain things. Mutants are actually probably the coolest class to play, but they're probably not the most interesting class. I'd say the most interesting is just the normal humans because you get like special anyway.
I was gonna say, when we did the one shot with me, I thought the tribe system was super dope, and I actually liked it better than the beastmen or the mutants, which is very not... I almost always love playing like weird animal people or whatever. So the fact that I was more interested in the human tribe system in that game, I think it says a lot. Because it was cool how you essentially took, I think it was 3, you chose 3 different aspects and smooshed them together, and then like those are the rules of your tribe essentially, and like that's the bonuses you get.
Yeah, and if every player chooses to be from the same tribe as a tribal human, you get a 4th one, which I thought was pretty neat as well.
Oh, that's a fun thing.
Oh?
Yeah.
That's cool.
So yeah, basically this like apparatus, like collar thing boosts all of their mutant powers. So if you pick, for example, the pyrokinetic, and your whole thing is that you can shoot like firebolt, it says, or you shoot like the equivalent of a firebolt, and when you hit level 10, you can do like, burning hands up to the max level that you can cast for or use for a thing called gambits, which are like spells. Anyone have... Moving on. Basically, I like custom build special buffs to their abilities. So we have like a cryokinetic and a pyrokinetic, and the pyro her character can't fly, but the rest of her race can fly. So as opposed to her having like conventional wings as an avian creature, like the rest of her tribe, she gets like a jetpack basically. Like she gets like big wings of fire that she can fly with, and she's immune to fire damage, and any creatures within 5 feet of her once per turn take fire damage, like Storm Heralds. For the cryokinetic, he gets the equivalent of like Armor of Agathis, immune to cold damage, and his ice attacks all do an extra die of damage. So I'd like to like custom build these things for the players.
Mm-hmm.
So to summarize it, I guess you're doing a little bit of the D&D thing, but you're generally going with the idea that the personal items are either made or taken from somebody and not necessarily just like lying around, which is sort of the expected fantasy.
Yeah, so you can there are rules for finding them out in the world, but it says like specifically that's kind of hard to do it.
Yeah, I said, it doesn't, that's not really a genre convention, right? Like it doesn't.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I think we've talked about this before. It's like usually you'd have to go out on a quest or a mission to go and find the super special item. Yeah. Because, you know, post-apocalypse stuff is rare. The super high tech stuff is super rare, and like people can't use it. And even if you do have it, you either and know how to use it, you like probably won't be able to use it a bunch because resources are limited.
Yeah, the only exception I can think of that's kind of in the apocalypse genre that does the old schooly kind of loot thing is Borderlands. And I don't really like Borderlands, so
to be fair,
Borderlands.
No, go for it.
Well, I was gonna say I definitely built a lot of the way that I feel like my world was supposed to work from like Mad Max, Borderlands. I'm trying to think of some other really good post-apocalypse media. I know it's not post-apocalypse, but 40K actually, because 40K it's not like a post-apocalypse, but it's like it's Virgin on it.
I mean, depends on where you are.
Depends on where you are, yeah.
Some
post-apocalypse.
Yeah.
Katie, absolutely post-apocalypse, but
Fallout or
Fallout, as well. That was a good one. I took a lot of the more lore, a lot of like my internal lore stuff from Fallout.
Yeah,
because it works really well.
That's actually something that kind of bugs me about Fallout, is because they do the old school idea of finding the loot in like a dungeon, which feels kind of weird in Fallout.
I know
they justify it, but I don't know.
I mean, the thing is that a lot of the time, like the loot that you find is marginally better than yours, unless you go into the super high tech vault, which is like it's high tech. The stuff in there is going
the
to
high tech. Yeah, the vaults. High tech. The vaults are a good like story justification for that kind of thing. Yeah, but you know,
I mean,
but also you all know I don't like Fallout, so like it's whole other thing.
Like there have been times. Oh no, go for it.
No. Go. I feel like I'm talking a bunch. Go.
That's all right. I was gonna say there have been times where scavenging loot and stuff. You're walking around like a desolate city, like Fallout 4. And all of a sudden, you just see a random bandit. You're like, oh, okay, I can one-shot this guy, no problem. And then he pulls out the, what's the rocket launcher, the catapult?
The fat boy or whatever?
Yeah,
fat man.
The fat man.
Yeah, the fat man. Yeah, he just pulls out that, names at you, and just, wait, how'd you get one of those? And now it's just this fight of like, I gotta kill the bandit so I can loot him and get that cool weapon.
Fallout 4 does a lot of things that breaks convention. Like, this is not a rant about Fallout 4 episode.
I could rant about Fallout, let me tell you.
I mean, my problem with Fallout 4, and this is kind of my problem with Elder Scrolls, Ever Morrowind, is that when you do loot in a game, we're stepping away tabletop.
We're still talking about loot.
We're still on topic, right?
Yeah, this is like a mini tangent. It's like half a tangent.
Yeah. We're making 3 left turns to get back to the right lane. It's fine.
Yeah. I mean, hey, look, 3 left turns do make a right. It ain't wrong. The math checks out. When you do your level design in your game based off of the player's level rather than specific areas that you're like, okay, the player shouldn't be here until they're around level because of X, Y, and Z, or they have this gear already. You end up with issues like that where players are getting gear and it's just super over leveled for them because something spawned with it, or sorry, my first experience with Fallout 4 was super mutant with the mini nuke in hand that it runs to you and nukes you.
Oh my
and
God.
murders.
I love that.
I love those
I love
guys.
that so much.
Hike. Dun, 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 dun.
I love that, please. I love the concept of those enemies, but it really did sour my first 20 minutes where I walked down a road and then that was what I ran into. And I kind of now going back to Elden Ring, and I kind of prefer the level design of where you have like, okay, we kind of expect the player to have like this level of equipment, this level character, whatever, when they get to this zone, so they craft it for that experience.
Should we just pivot, or we're just gonna talk
No,
about
no,
Elden Ring instead now,
I mean,
or-
I'll no, God,
Joking.
no, please.
Joking.
We don't need to
could,
ride
though.
the hype train 2 months later.
Listen, when the Dark
True.
Souls like tabletop comes out, then we'll come
Oh,
back.
Yeah,
to
yeah,
this.
yeah. We'll talk
Yeah.
about that. We'll play a game. We'll
Oh
talk
my
about
God,
it.
yeah,
We'll
we
be
have
like,
to. There's no way
True.
we can't.
Very true.
like, you know, the differences between Fallout 4 and how Elden Ring does it is like Elden Ring has like the loot everywhere. It's specific loot. So if you can get to it, you can get the big item that helps you do the cool thing. But like, you also have stat requirements for a lot of things. So if you don't dump stats into particular things and kind of ignore everything else, you're probably not going to be able to equip it. So there's a pacing to it, which I will now use that as a way to tie us back in. Pacing magical equipment.
Segue.
Yeah. Just loop that back around. How do you do your pacing for loop specifically?
Oh,
It's
Sam, I
like-
don't like this call out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You want to talk? We can talk about your campaign right now.
I mean, are you
So-
asking Isaiah? I think you're asking Isaiah. Right?
Yeah, I'm asking.
So Josh, how
Isaiah.
many
Okay.
plus 3 swords have you given your players? The answer is 5,
So-
right? Of course, one
Yeah.
for every player.
Yeah.
So at this point, I've been running my game for about a year and a half. So the amount of actual like special items that my players have it's pretty numerous, but it just so happens that they're very recently, like the last 6 months, they're just constantly doing big event after big event after big event.
Yeah.
Beside that, though, I think which kind of leads back to my original point is that I like to give them a bunch of loot, but I like to give them a bunch of mundane loot that can do a lot of different things or fit their play style better, or will otherwise sort of allow them to think about the game a little more differently, so that maybe they can. I almost want to say build, because I don't want to go back to Elden Ring. It'll just sort of. Well, it's their build. It really is what it is.
Yeah, I know.
so, like,
It is.
I mean,
yeah, it's not
that
an
word
incorrect
is
statement.
universal. That word
Yeah.
is pretty universal when it comes to RPG.
Yeah, so I give them a lot of small things, like I'll give them like 3 different revolvers that do 3 different dies of damage, or have 3 different ranges, or
Okay.
maybe a greatsword does 2d4 if it's one, and you can one-hand it, or 2d6 if you two-hand it, or maybe an armor that has like a slightly different AC, but the armor also has like a bunch of different tags that you can add it to like make it like noisy or fragile, so it breaks after a crit, or maybe it's vacuum sealed so it's completely immune to any air-based toxins, or blind proof so you can't flashbang them. Like I want to throw as much variety at the players as possible while keeping everything sort of on the same level with itself across the board. But also what is damage scaling in Hellscapes? Because it doesn't exist, because everything does a fuck ton of damage all the time. They
were talking about
don't
that.
say it to you explicitly, but they're like, the fact that like most boss monsters have like 400 HP and can do like 30 damage a round and shit like that. And level 1, if you pick the right gambit, you can do 3d6 plus 1d8 plus 2d6 plus 1d4 just as a start. It sort of builds this system of always escalate, never back down.
See, I
You
like
live and
that.
die
though.
by the
Nice.
RNGesus.
I like that though, because it's more visceral and that fits better with the genre of post-apocalypse.
It does,
But
yeah.
it is weird that they don't explicitly call it out. It's odd that they
No,
don't
yeah.
mention it.
It's almost like, because they have like a system, like a like massive, really intuitive system for building monsters, they're like, oh, if you give it this tag, which means it has X amount extra HP, it increases by like 1/4 CR. Or if you increase its size by this category, increases it by like a half CR. If you bump its AC by X amount, it increases it X amount of CR. Like there's this, it's only like 2 pages long, but it breaks down in really simple terms how powerful things should roughly be if you want to give them certain things. And I use it for the most part, but it gets to a point where the players do so much damage that as long as I'm not one-shotting them once per round, I can be pretty lenient with how powerful I make things, and I'm pretty confident that they can handle it if they either think about it correctly or they don't run in dick first, which one of my players does. She does it all the time, and she literally built it into her character to get XP, because her character's thing is, I am incredibly reckless and stupid, and she's like, yeah, I'm gonna run face first into this 18-wheeler and try to jump on it, and I'm like, you're gonna get demolished, and she's like, if I survive, I'm gonna get XP for it. I'm like, all right, bud,
She's
roll me
not
that con
wrong.
save, BB.
It's fucking awesome.
She's not wrong.
Yeah.
Wild.
Oh,
So,
it's like the best
wait,
though.
I feel like I missed or maybe you said it and I just didn't hear you. I don't know. But so you're saying in terms of the loot pacing question, are you saying you just shotgun the loot at them and then let them sort it out, or like?
No, it's not like just a constant deluge of items, but whenever they do find something, yeah. So like if they find a shotgun one day and like 8 sessions later they look for another shotgun, it might be the same kind of shotgun, it might do the same amount of damage, but it might not. Or one thing I've also done for guns specifically is that I've made a bunch of different ammo types that they can fuck with, which adds even more variety to it, right? So like if we're talking about shotguns, I've made rules for buckshot or solid slugs or incendiary rounds. Like I've sort of built a catalog of secondary ammunition which can change the game even more.
That's cool. I like that. Especially from a payday perspective of different bullets do different things. Shotgun with slugs compared to fire breath or pellets is such a good mechanic.
But how do you make it not a situation where you're giving them just like too much loot, I guess? Just more loot than God?
Well, so the best part is if they're looking for loot, the scavenging rules in Hellscape state that it's a DC 15 perception check. So it's a medium roll leaning towards harder, right? Especially, and it changes throughout the game. So based on what you're looking for. So like the base roll is 15, but if you look for something specific, that becomes searching, and then searching has like its base 15, and the more rare it is, the higher the DC. So they're like, finding a personalized item is a perception 20 roll or higher. So usually they're like, okay, I'm gonna scavenge for something, and based on the amount of successes they have, and I measure success by increments of 5. So if the base DC is 15 and they roll 25, they're gonna find 3 items. So you'll find 1d4 rations, 2d4 units of currency, and maybe some light armor. Or a trinket, which is another thing in that game, which is items that have no monetary value, or they might, but like they have no mechanical value. They don't necessarily have monetary value, but they can have value to the character. So a shaving kit, a key to a warehouse. Value. Yeah. And I'll often sort of gauge those on the fly for their price or what they can be used for, right? So it's, if your character's whole thing is they look like a beatnik with a massive beard and scraggly hair, and you find like a trimmer and you're like, all right, well, can I cut my hair with the trimmer and like clean my face up to get like advantage or a bonus on a roll, shit like that, and then I'll sort of apply it on the fly. So those are cool because you can just drop those a fuck ton on players and they're like, oh cool, I found a little thing.
So, okay, so part of the loot pacing you're using, at least for that game, is actually built into the system itself.
It is, yeah. I've made like, the game has provided like 3/5 of it, and I've just, the other 2/5 I've sort of done myself. It's not about half and half. The game has provided more than I've come up with, but it's pretty close.
I mean, you've thrown some variety at them.
True.
Which is, that's another thing that I like to do. I mean, I haven't given you a whole ton of loot. I've tried to make some of it was memory, but
I mean, capability made of fog that's a god tier magic item. I won't let anyone say otherwise.
It's very good.
I do like that item.
So,
but also
the one thing that you, the one thing that you are doing, Sam, that I like a lot, that doesn't necessarily equate to an item, but I would still call it loot, is it's like a thing you can find or acquire, are like special moves, or like special abilities that we can get. So, not to like describe your game for you, but Sam's game is like My Hero Academia mixed with Harry Potter.
I like how you didn't go for the obvious Persona reference.
There's Persona in it too, but like we call the game Magic Goon Academia for a reason.
Yes.
Like
to back up why I said Persona, we have a dungeon that is built into the school we're going to, and we enter the dungeon, and that essentially takes up our day. So if anyone's played Persona, it's like when you go into the dungeon and then that day of the week is used up. Similar idea.
Yeah.
But yes, we're in a school. There's lots of teachers around and rivals and all that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, so like, to continue off that point, I guess I'm going. I like to really personalize things for character and players too. So like the special abilities thing is like, I like to think I know you guys well enough that I can be like, all right, they're gonna like this thing. So like when I made the cross calendar skill for Yato, I was like, I know that Isaiah likes Hajime no Ippo. I know he likes boxing. I know he's gonna love this. So I worked on the mechanic and the shadows, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna give this to him. I'm gonna present it to him in a specific way, and then he's gonna be like, I want to do that, and there we'll go from there.
And it worked.
It did, and I haven't been able to use it much because most people don't want to fight my character.
I mean, you're pretty menacing when you've got how many arms coming basically out of your back?
6 total.
Like, you know, I wouldn't want to fight that up close.
It's fair. I just think it's very funny that yeah, it was just like of all like the super, I don't want to say like animeified, but like highlighted boxing maneuvers as like the cross counter, like it shows up in how many shows, both Eastern and Western, as like this fucking awe-inspiring Sakuga moment thing. So the fact that you know a teacher was like, I'm gonna teach you how to cross counter, and I was like, fuck yeah, dude.
I mean, you know, the cross counter is just an exciting thing to see, so I think that's why. But like, yeah, I like to do personalized loot or help your character grow in a specific way that the game doesn't particularly support. So like, for instance, when Matt's character swallowed the pearl of power.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Can we talk about that? Can we talk about that actual fucking clownery that he hit us with? It's like, pearl of power. We don't have identify. I'm gonna spend a short rest. He's like, oh, if you like harness this thing, it will give you abilities. And he's like, all right, cool. Gulp. And we're like, did you just swallow Did you just swallow the fucking magic item? What the fuck is wrong with you? And he's like, I thought it may have done something cool. And we're like, it's a pearl of fucking power, Matt. What were you expecting it to do?
So that was in character. Out of character, me and Josh and Sam were like, oh yeah, pearl of power. Just eat it. I'm like, all right, yeah, sure. My character eats it.
Yes, we made a joke about eating it, and then Matt's character actually ate it, and we all went,
You're like, wait. Josh, wait, no, I'm the sorcerer, please.
Yeah.
No,
me,
the
the sorcerer
part.
character, being like, I could have used that, but okay.
It literally was loot intended for
me.
Josh's character, and then I was like, wait, but hold on, I can use this to my advantage.
Yeah.
And I made it so that, you know, I mean, we now have character lore that I never intended, but hey, apparently Matt's character can now absorb the magic from like magic items or magic itself.
Yeah, I'm just gonna start
turn it into power. Now,
just gonna start
Matt,
eating magic like fairy tale characters now. Thanks.
Yeah,
no,
so there's
that's a little bit different. We're not. If you try to swallow a fireball, you're getting hit in the face with the fireball.
Moited, straight moited. So Matt, Sam, there's a Blue Mage homebrew thing that I saw a while ago by the guys at Middle Finger of Vecna. You should check them out. They're pretty cool. Anybody listening? they have this like blue mage thing where the blue mage can absorb attributes of magic items up to like a total.
Okay.
I'll probably send that to you just to see if you might want to like take some bits.
Yeah. I'll
This is
probably
a
take
little
some bits
thievery.
just because of what Matt has done to me. What me done to myself.
Yeah, it was a joint effort.
It's, I mean, hey, it was a pretty cool character moment when I was like, hey, you have magic attacks now. When you're
Magic
raging.
claws.
And he was like, rad, turns into vampire raging form, cuts hole through table.
That's red.
That's rad. Teacher looking at them. You just not destroy property?
Teacher
can't
looks
wait.
at them and goes, "Oh no, they're clowns."
I can't wait till we find like a bad guy like Paladin with his like, you know, magic sword. And I'm going to be like, yes, I eat. No, wait.
Consume sword.
Yeah, just slurp the fucking magic sword. The paladin is like, oh no.
Paladin looks at hands and goes,
how do I fight now?
I don't know what to do now.
I
don't know where to go
only
from
had
here.
the one. I only had the one sword.
I have one trick. That's my one trick.
But yeah,
I'm in-
like I like to sometimes do table loot when I'm really like not feeling it, or it was
Yeah.
kind of like a minor encounter or whatever. But I really like personalizing loot, or not even give you loot, but give you the ability to get something for your character just completely different
Yeah.
than rules is written. Like I have things in mind for each of your characters. Although
I will
think
say,
I think I have to hold back on Chris because I literally just gave him something that, like
very powerful.
from.
Very powerful,
I mean,
yeah.
I mean,
Oops.
I mean that was not an oops. That was on purpose. None of you can heal, so
True.
Uh,
No, that's not true. I can heal. I have
you can heal
I also
yourself.
took the healer
Yeah.
feat for that reason.
yeah, Josh is the healer.
All right, buddy.
well, yeah, so I think that's actually kind of funny because it's like none of us can heal, but all of our characters can self-sustain pretty well.
Mhm. Remember,
Ki-
self-sustaining
kinda.
doesn't help you when you're down, though.
It's
Yes.
true, it doesn't.
But again, I mean,
So-
that is why I took the healer feat.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I see that more as an out of combat thing, though.
Well, it's not. It's only an
Especially-
action.
I know, but I mean,
Oh.
that's still a whole turn dedicated to picking someone up.
Yeah,
rather
but that's.
than,
I
like,
mean, that's the case. It
Healing
would
word, which is a bonus action.
yeah, with the exception.
Right.
Yeah, which is what
Um,
most people in the game use to bring people up. So like I looked at it as a way for me to be able to balance higher level encounters as well as save you guys some action economy. For context, one of my other players, Chris, he's playing a Fey Ranger, and his backstory is very much Fey. I've had a bunch of Fey interaction. His magic bow literally has a Fey living inside of it. So I made it so that he now has the ability, because he leveled up, to, and basically replaced his healing spirit spell, to summon the Fey from the bow and act as a healing spirit, but it actually has action and spells that it can cast.
It's
I might do some tweaking with
It's
it.
a
but,
healing
like,
spirit as pet thing.
yeah. And you know, dipping into that, Ranger should have a pet thing. You know,
Yes,
there
yes.
were a few things that I was grabbing from here. I think it's really cool. I might have to balance it a little bit later, but
Eh,
but I think, you know, it'll be useful for you guys, and it makes it so that I can just throw really hard stuff at you until your character gets punched in the face 2 times, Josh.
yeah. Well, no. Oh, train of thought has
Oh, no,
left the
he forgored.
station.
I mean, I can continue speaking.
forgore.
Oh no, he forgore. He forgore his
buddy.
ticket for the train.
Oh, okay. We
got back.
we did it. We got it back, gamers. All right, listen, rise and grind.
Found your
All right,
ticket.
all
Rise and
right.
grind gamers.
God damn it.
God bless.
What I was gonna say is loot tables, right? So the
Yeah.
the rollable
Loot
loot
tables.
tables that are like in the DMG, and I think Xanathar's has some too.
Yeah.
A lot of people tend to shit on that method
Mhm.
of loot distribution these days, but I do think it's
I-
worth pointing out, and we have a very specific reference of this. Sometimes that method of loot distribution can
Oh,
get
no.
you an unexpected item, and sometimes
Oh,
that
no.
unexpected item can be really fun. A la,
Yeah, I know exactly
we got
what
a
you're
bag of
talking about.
holding off a bunch of random berserkers in Curse of Strahd, and we use that thing to
Hell
great effect.
Yes. Killed three hags, didn't take. Okay,
Yeah.
wait. I
So-
feel
We
like
talked
we
about the
have to
haggening.
tell the baggening story on
Baggening.
podcast.
No, we did.
I feel no, we did.
did we?
We talked about the
We did.
Okay.
Look, this
I don't
story comes up a
remember.
lot, guys.
I don't remember which
This-
episode, but I'm 90% sure we did.
We
Sessions canceled. Episode 2, Running Pains at the 1 hour, 26 minute, and 30 seconds mark. You are welcome.
we definitely
Episode
may
title:
have,
We forego loot.
the
We
baggening
forgot.
comes up a lot. I was
Baggening
also
comes up a
thinking about the time that I rolled a band of intellect. Josh, you
Oh
remember
yes,
this?
the band of intellects that I put on my yes, that was another
Yes.
one. Yep. Yeah. So like,
you know, it comes. It's a bag of tricks. You never know what you're gonna pull out of it when you do the rollable
well,
loot.
and also the randomness of it. What's the word I'm looking for? In combination with specialized loot and randomized loot, right? You can get different kinds of fun little stories, right? Because specialized loot, obviously, you as a GM, you can be like, this is the sword of Gorthanak the Ultimate, and like it fucking slays goblins mad well. So when you fuck up goblins with it, it's a plus 37 sword. It's dope.
It's a pretty
But
sick
then you
name,
can
actually.
also be
Plus
like
37 swords.
plus 37, yeah. But then you can also be like, this random group of barbarians had a fucking bag of holding on them. Why? I don't know, but there's a reason there, and maybe your players investigate, maybe they don't, but even if they don't, it's still a fun thing to be like, yeah, we got
Yeah.
this weird bag of holding off this group of dudes, and now we're using it for something else.
I mean, it
So,
also depends
yeah.
on like or what table
Mix
you
and
end up
match.
rolling on. Because like I like using the
True.
loot tables for like gold amount because I don't
Well,
really
yeah,
like
obviously.
deciding gold
Yeah.
amount. Like that's the big thing that I use tables for. Sometimes my example earlier, how did the goblins get the Vorpal sword?
Yeah, exactly. You can come up with a good story for that kind of stuff.
like and
Exactly.
why didn't they use the Vorpal sword
Why
on the
didn't
characters?
they use the Vorpal sword?
Okay,
Like-
so I real quick, I'm sorry. I actually do have a question that's related
Mhm.
exactly to that thing.
Yeah.
Have you guys run into the problem where your monsters have like a cool little thing or a weapon or an item,
Oh.
and like the players are immediately like, I want that thing he has, and you're like, shit. I've run into this a few times when I've been running like fantasy one-shots where a guy will have like a sword that catches fire or something, and I'll describe it as like a special weapon or something rather than like an ability. Like I remember
Right.
distinctly that I described the Blood Hunter enemy as like lighting the sword on fire, but he like wasn't magical. And the players were like, oh yeah, I want his fiery sword. And in my head I was like, I did basically describe it as this sword just being a special sword. Do I just let this sword catch fire and be a shitty flame tongue, or do I just double back and be like, no, it was an ability on the sheet. It doesn't have. I ultimately was like, here you go. It's a sword that does a D4. Congrats. Have a good one.
That happens
But-
a lot, honestly. That
I
happens a
agree.
lot in D&D and other games.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I don't think I've ever run into that situation.
I haven't yet.
Yeah,
It hasn't happened to me with like NPCs, but bad guys, obviously. Like
Mhm.
they have an item that the players they're gonna get if they kill the bad guy. So obviously I put that there purposely. But I've never run into the issue where like an NPC does friendly or what have you has this cool item and I describe it and the player's like, I want that. Can I try and like?
I don't think that's what Isaiah meant.
Well, no, I'm just saying like in general.
What I was kind of saying is like, if you have very descriptive ways of having like NPCs or enemies do like special things,
Yeah,
and the
you
players-
over describe the boss's cool ability.
Yeah.
and the
Oh,
players
then the
automatically
players-
they constantly think that it's loot and they
Yeah.
keep trying to take it, and you're like,
yeah,
it's not. Actually, I have a very specific example of this.
Yeah, same.
I was my players were fighting like a bandit ambush of sorts, and this one mutant bandit had this like weird spaghetti strainer thing on his head that like he was like a mutant that could do lightning zaps, and I kept describing it as like kind of like a Tesla coil with like a spinning like the fucking balls
Turbine
on his
and
head that
shit.
spin. Yeah. And I kept trying to be like, well, it doesn't make him stronger. It's just sort of how he like channels it. And they kept just being like, we can take it and we can take it apart and mix it with our thing that'll make us even stronger. I'm like, no, it
Jesus.
doesn't do that. It just he has his powers. He can't actually. and just constantly. And I was like, all right, guys, look, all jokes aside, that thing doesn't do anything. You're not getting any buffs, I promise you.
They're like, he's lying. He's trying to trick
lying.
us.
Yeah, the DM's lying to us.
He's testing our faith. It's like, no, you're not getting anything out of this.
It's like, please.
I mean,
That's happened to me too, where boss fight, boss has like a bunch of like magic runes, and each one's a specific spell, and I described it as looking like a glove, and the player's like, ooh, he's got a magic glove, he's got magic like Thanos like rune glove, we gotta take it from him. And I'm like, no guys, no, damn it. I'm like, no, he just really paranoid wizard fighter guy and just put a bunch of glyphs of warding on his glove. Okay, you know what? Yeah, it's a magic item now.
Okay, I was gonna say, did you make it a magic item?
Yeah, I just made a magic item. And I'm like, yeah, once per day you can cast all these spells from his glove, and it's like all the runes fade and blah blah blah.
Yeah. I mean, I will say
my players never used it.
Wow. Nice. Wow.
This is also when they're like 18 level, so they're like, bag of holding full of other magic items into the pile it goes.
Yeah. I'm sorry. This brings another question in the mix. How the hell do you do with players not remembering to have a magic item to use? Isaiah, I know that you were struggling with this.
Okay, wait, hold on. Before we do that, I just want to point out, I will say, just as an aside, at least with a fantasy setting, it is a lot easier to circumvent that problem by simply saying, the paladin's magic sword only works in his hands because it is attuned to his soul or whatever. But Isaiah, with a post-apocalypse situation, get fucked, nerd, I guess. I don't...
Yeah, pretty much. That do be how it is that way. I've gotten around it at times because one of my players, she's got like 19 strength, right? And she's just like, yeah, I'm massive chungus, and I like to hit things with a sword. And I described this one dude's sword as being so comically fuck off massive and she was like, yeah, but I can hold it though. I'm like, no. I'm like, you literally, it weighs like 50 pounds. The dude's 18 feet tall. You can't use his fucking sword.
And she said, try me.
Yeah, she was like, are you sure? And I was like, I'm positive you will not be able to use this sword.
Can I roll an insight check on who? The dungeon master.
Can I press X to doubt? I'm like, you can press X to get crushed by a fucking rock.
But yes, so Sam, in response to that question, I don't know, bro, that's not my fucking problem.
Well,
Sam.
I mean, like, see, the way that I avoid that is either I give you the item as a meme and don't ever expect you to use it, the staff of flowers, but then you ended up using it.
And then I used it.
Yeah, which I was like, oh, that was cute. Or you don't get a magic item. I don't know. You just get a personalized item, a meme item, or
bro. Listen,
I don't know. That's the only reason I don't really like rolling on the table.
Yeah,
because I know that if I make an item for you, you're probably gonna use.
I mean,
or I'll
here's
just give you a magic item that has a tag.
Here's a PSA out to the greater Tri-Tabletop area.
Fuck off.
My PSA, right? Bro, all right, I'm looking at you players. All right, I'm not looking at you because you can't see me, but pretend I'm looking at you. I am not responsible for the bullshit you write on your sheet. If you forget you have a magic sword, that is a whole lot of not my fucking problem. And sorry, Chief, you should have remembered. I got so much other crap to keep track of.
I literally just experienced this. I literally just experienced this. So I run 2 games currently. I run a Monday game for newer players. Like, this is their second campaign ever, and like they're still feeling it out. They're having a great time. I'm having a great time because I get to throw my beginner stuff at them, and they're like, "I don't know what this is. Oh my god!"
Right? Yeah, they don't know what a gelatinous cube is yet.
They don't know what a phase spider is, I love phase spiders. They're probably one of my favorite monsters in the game. And I recently had the idea of a phase strider, but we'll save that for later.
So
yeah, buddy, let's go.
Evil.
Let's go.
But like we had session 1 week, and then the next week was Valentine's Day. We didn't have session. People were busy, and I was like, you know what? I feel like having a night off. So like, I just won't bother you guys. You guys can. We didn't have session. Then we come back the next week, and they're like, wait, so who had this item? And what was this item again? And what did this thing do? And I'm like, did y'all not write it on your sheet who had the item? And they're like, no. I'm like, well, I'm glad that you remembered that you had this as a party, but please determine who's going to carry the item beforehand, because if you don't, I'm not going to remember 90% of the time unless I wrote it in my note. That's usually if it's like a specific item. The item specifically that they forgot they had is they had a ring of jumping, and they had a ever smoking bottle, I believe.
Ah, yes, I know that one.
Yeah. And like, they just forgot that they had it. And I'm like, they literally got into combat and like the casters got hit and they're like, man, if only we had something to do to help with this. And I'm just sitting there like, well, if you had your ever smoking bottle, you wouldn't have to deal with this problem now, would you? And they just totally forgot they had it, which, like, you know, I'm not actually bitter about it. I just think it's funny that, like, you know, players have the solution to problems with these magical items that they have, and then they just don't use them because they forgot they exist. Which is
I was waiting for you to say it. Damn it.
What?
But then they forgore.
Oh yeah, but then
so I think so. I think this is actually a pretty good segue. It's a good segue into what Sam was wondering from me and how I deal with my party constantly fucking forgetting the things that I give them. The answer is that I just remember it for them. I just tell them constantly that they have things, and if they really, I know it's so bad.
Isaiah,
so bad.
You gotta bring the hammer down at some point and say,
I've started,
yeah.
but it's got. There's been plenty of times where they like forget that they might have walkie-talkies, or they have like a satellite phone that has very limited connection, or special guns, or personalized. One of my players was trying to build a sword, like a personalized sword. He was taking mods off one item and putting it onto another item, and we've been talking for weeks about this item and how he was going to take it off and put it on another one. And when it came down to it, he's like, okay, so I take the telescoping mace, because it was like a mace that, like the hunter axe in Bloodborne. And he was like, I take the telescoping feature off and I put it on my sword blade. And I was like, all right, cool. Who has the telescoping mace? Crickets. And I was like, does anyone have record of the personalized items y'all got like 3 months ago? And everyone's like, no, we don't know where those are. And I was like, God.
At least your players are honest about it, because like I feel like some groups would just, one player would just lie and just be like, yeah, I got it, yeah, me. Aren't you the bard who can't use it? I was holding it for the other guy.
I was holding it for the fighter.
So this is kind of a party call out. I love you guys if you're listening to this. The first personalized items I gave my characters was like a great axe off like a bandit chieftain and his double barrel shotgun. And of all the characters that they gave them to, so for reference, these classes are like basically 1-to-1 with D&D. So I'm just going to refer to them by their D&D classes. We have a fighter, we have a sorcerer, we have 2 rogues, and we have a paladin. Oh, and we have a ranger. But yeah, that's 6, right? Yeah, okay. So great axe and shotgun. So you might think, oh, well, they might give the axe to the fighter, right? Because she uses like a great sword, you know, it like probably, you know, it works. And they might give the double barrel shotgun to maybe they'll give it to the ranger so he can do a little bit better in close quarters combat, or maybe they'll even give it to the paladin, even though he specializes in long range. Nope, they gave the great axe and the double barrel to the rogue, one of them. And in the rogue's defense, she used that shotgun. She used the great axe constantly, even though she was never getting any sneak attacks, because it's a great axe. You can't sneak attack with a great axe.
Yeah, strength rogues. Let's go.
She used that axe fucking constantly, even though it was like not the meta, because her character was better at unarmed strikes, because her unarmed strikes did a D8, and then she did the 3D6, and then it was crazy. She's doing like 50 damage per round at level 4. But she was like, no, I like that. I'm going to use this axe. I like this axe. And I was like, all right, well, that's great for you, Chief. That's awesome. I just think maybe someone else could have used it more. Like, I'm not judging. I'm the GM. I'm not here to dictate who gets what loot. I'm just saying. You know what I'm saying?
That's a weird, I don't even. I don't know where I was going with that. That's a weird conclusion to come to, I guess.
I mean,
it was very interesting. I just sat back in my chair. I was like, all right, well, this is happening.
I mean, okay, look, as a great axe connoisseur, I respect it, but also as a rogue is
what have you done?
Title? As a great axe connoisseur. Like, what?
I
making it sound like you're tasting cheese.
The
blade on this one is fetching.
Look.
Really cleaves the skull.
I have a thing for particular weapons, and they are big fuck off axe and big fuck off hammer.
That's true.
Makes sense.
That's basically what he plays in any RPG that we ever play.
Yeah.
I like these two things, and if I don't play it, it's because I'm trying to get out of my comfort zone, because I like big fuck off hammer and big fuck off axe.
He's trying to leave his comfort zone or play a sub meta caster.
Yeah.
Josh knows my call out.
God damn it, you broke my train of thought. Giving the rogue the great axe is just like, I mean, it's fine, like, do what you want, obviously, but that is a very funny scenario. And I mean, loot doesn't have to be optimized or whatever, but you know, a lot of the time, again, to the players, I'm looking at you guys, your GM probably knows who they want to take the loot, so like, you know, keep that in mind, I guess. Is it? I don't really. Is what all I can say on that. Where were we? Fuck.
Well,
I don't know.
I mean, we didn't trail too far off of loot there.
Yeah.
We were fairly on topic with our
What
tangent.
was the specific?
We were talking about the rogue picking up
forgetting the loot
axe.
on the sheet. Is how we. Okay, that's where we
Yeah.
started. That's where we started.
Not writing stuff down.
The other thing I was gonna say is, sorry, I forego this. Here's the other thing, right, Isaiah, in your situation where it's like, who has the telescoping mace? I, as the GM, am not going to write that down. So if you forgot and I forgot, I guess it doesn't exist anymore. You know, like,
I've done that previously with some things where it's like, oh, who has this, like,
it can happen.
bulletproof vest?
Yeah.
And it just disappears. I was like, all right, well, either y'all sold it or it doesn't exist anymore. Like,
yeah, like sometimes that's the scenario.
I'll do that. Yeah, I do it sometimes, but it's like, there are specific instances where, like, I know somebody like is talking about it. I'm like, oh, like they talk about it like because they know that it exists, but they just don't know who has it, and it's just like, whatever. They also do this constantly with their walkie-talkies because they have two of them, and it's like, who has the walkie again? Do you have the walkie? I don't have the walkie. Do you have the walkie? I don't have it. And they'll just arbitrarily decide that what two people have them, and I'm like, you're lucky I'm being lenient.
Yeah, in that scenario, you kind of should keep track of it at least a little bit.
Yeah, so you want to talk about consequences? That satellite phone, they like really have been needing for a while because they need to contact people outside of a 15-mile radius, and their guildmaster equivalent took the satellite phone to make a call with it, and he like snatched it from them. He's like, "Give me this. I need this because y'all be acting stupid. Let me fix something really quick."
Y'all be acting
because they be acting up sometimes.
And it happens.
It happens, yeah. And he was like, "All right. Yeah, I know you guys are going on like a road trip. Make sure you come to me before you leave tomorrow, and I'll give you the phone back. I got to make some calls." And they're like, "Oh yeah, we need that phone. We definitely can't forget about that."
Definitely,
and the next day, they left, and they were like, "Oh, we can call him on the satellite phone." I was like, "You mean the one that you left with the guildmaster?" And they were just like, "The one that we left with the guildmaster, yes, that one." And for like over a week, they were just completely in the dark about what was going on with the strategy against the main plot. And I was just like, "This is gonna come back. Don't worry."
I mean, there's an argument to be made that you could have been nice there and just said that your characters wouldn't have forgotten, you as players did, but I also can't really blame you.
Yeah, no, I could have, but this was one of those. I'm like, it'd be really funny if y'all just forgot to grab your satellite phone.
Yeah, I mean, there's an argument to be made here. Is Sam about to say something potentially?
Yeah, so my big thing is that you don't want to really propagate the behavior of, oh, we forgot the thing consistently. And like, I with newer players, I'm like fairly lenient on stuff. Like even when they forget abilities or something or how stuff works, But like when it comes to you guys, I'm usually like, if they don't remember, they don't remember. Like Josh, when I kept making fun of, wow, I'm Haven. Real bad with names, guys. I'm sorry. When I made fun of Haven for not leaving the combat radius of the boss after you had took away his reaction.
I did forget about the reaction one. That was
literally took away his reaction and then stood there next to the boss as a sorcerer. I was just like, I could tell him, but like
he was doing the Family Guy, like, oh well, big whoop, you want to fight about it? And it's just like, wait, no, I actually don't.
It comes to like how much I trust you as a player to remember these things. And like you guys are really good about stuff because you all are in the same boat as me. You have players who forget they have the thing or won't use the thing, so you're like, I'm not going to do that. And like there are occasions where you guys will forget. Matt takes copious amounts of notes because he's going to forget something. And I understand that. I take a crap ton of notes. Or Chris, the other player in the campaign, he takes a bunch of notes and he's like, he reviews his character sheet before session. So like,
I do try to remember to do that. That's a really helpful one, actually.
Yes.
So, you know what? Let's just have an official helpful tip tangent here. All right. If you're a player who is forgetful, it is super helpful before the session to just look at your damn character sheet and be like, what do these thingies I have mean? Oh yeah, I think that came from this.
Yes,
like,
I agree. Completely.
Look at
to any player who's playing with me, fucking do that. Because I have to do it mid-session for you constantly.
No, I don't think I will.
Yeah,
I love all of you to death.
Because there'll be times where you forget. Oh, no, go for it. Sorry.
Well, even if it's not loot, right? You might be like, oh, I forgot I had that spell. It's like, well, if you had looked at your character sheet real quick.
Or
another big one is
just like, oh, I should have done that.
Ability.
Yeah.
Or another one is there's a lot of games where you're rewarded XP for specific things. So it's like review your sheet so you know what you get XP for. So like for example, in Blades in the Dark, you get XP based on your playbook. Each playbook has specific actions that they get XP for, like certain things they do. So like review your sheet, remember it's there. That's just a good habit. Just in general.
All right, small tangent. Speaking of Blades, I we really need to get a successful campaign.
Tangent
of Blades
to the tangent, but yeah.
I really like Blades in the Dark as a system because I just like the setting a lot, and I think it works. Yeah, no, I feel bad because both the times that we've played, Josh, it's kind of been like hit and miss.
I know.
Some players get it, and then the other ones don't.
A big thing with Blades is that self-motivation drive. Yeah. It's a big factor.
Yeah. Well, I think our second game, the second game was kind of tough because we were all in school and like dealing with like midterms and shit. Like I know Aster was getting swamped with his fucking work.
This is true. Now we're all a bunch of lazy adults.
I don't know about all that.
Listen, I've as a member of the military, I'm sorry. I have not been in school for a very long time. Thank you. It's still rough though. Like I know you guys have a lot more shit to do afterwards, but sometimes I'm like, hey, you want to work a 12-hour shift? Well, even if the answer is no, you're doing it.
Good tangent. To return for a minute, though.
Yeah, Josh, give me your expertise in planning this stuff out, please.
All right, hold on. The thing I was gonna say is to Isaiah's point about players forgetting things. It is worth mentioning that if you split yourself from your character, you as the player are sitting down playing this character once a week. For however many hours, maybe twice a week if you're one of those groups, although those are very rare groups, right? You're sitting down.
I wish I had enough time to do that.
Yeah, right. You're sitting down once a week and you're going into character mode, but the character are literally living that life. So there's stuff that you would forget as a player that they probably wouldn't. So there's a certain amount of leniency to say like, oh, the players forgot the phone, but the characters probably wouldn't because that's important for them. So you just say like, all right, it's fine, you grab it. Now, I'm not saying you had to do that, Isaiah, because sometimes there are certain situations where you just gotta be like, listen, you're doing this too much, so like I gotta slap you on the wrist a little bit.
Yeah, I mean that.
But it is a point worth noting to be like, yes, the characters are living this life. You as the player are not actually living.
Yeah.
So there are things they would remember.
Of course. No, I'm probably one of the main proponents for I'm stupid, but that doesn't mean my character is stupid.
Right, exactly. I have 8 intellects, but my character has 20.
Yeah. As
dude.
someone who's played several characters with 20 int, I'm like, look, guy, if I can tell this, my character absolutely can.
Right.
So yeah, no, I agree. And that's why I'm usually really going above and beyond to be like, you have this thing, don't forget that you have X amount of ammo, don't forget that you have 4 bullets away from reloading.
Right. It's also a circumstance. It depends on what the situation is. Sometimes it's fine to just hand wave and say the character would remember, and sometimes it kind of isn't. Like it also depends on the game too. Like some games focus more on that idea of like you as the player need to be diligent if you want to like succeed kind of thing. So it depends.
Yeah. And like, I go out of my way to think about things that I'd be like, don't worry about it. Like literally just hand wave it. Like, no, don't worry about it. Especially because other games already kind of do that. Going back to Blades has a system where you have like the prep points for your equipment before you go and do things. Yeah, prep points, gear points, whatever.
Load.
Same
That's
thing.
what it's called. Load.
Load. Yeah. Where you decide retroactively. Shut up.
Yeah, you decide in the moment, essentially.
That you have this piece of equipment. Like, I like that.
It's a very cool system. Very cool.
I try to, like, incorporate that a little bit with the whole hand wavy thing. Like, no, don't worry about it. You had it. For instance, if I say you have some downtime and, like, later on, just for, like, and I constantly tell players this, mark this on your sheet. Because I'm not going to remember this. And, like, it might be in my notes, but, like, if I'm too far down in my notes, I'm not going to remember that you have this. So, you might have gone out and bought some spell components. Like later on, if you run into a scenario where you needed a specific value, you can mark the value off of your sheet, take it out of your gold, and then say that you have the item. But again, I tell player, mark this on your sheet and like something, and I'll like keep it in my notes and then I'll search for it. But like, stuff like that. Because I think that's a good thing to do as a DM.
It is, yeah.
Because it allows the player to have a little less stress, but you should also know who has the magic item, please. Like that one.
Just to give you a little context for Matt and also for anyone on the internet. So the way Blades works, Matt, is that when you go to do what's called a score in Blades, which is essentially a mission, you can go in light load, medium load, or heavy load, and you have a certain amount of points. And basically, medium load means that your character fictionally doesn't look like they have weapons on them. Medium load means you look like you're somewhat armed, and heavy load is like you're walking around ready to fuck people up.
Yeah. I feel like even though I have no context of Blades in the Dark, I feel like I would probably do very well in the game, just of literally playing Payday 2 since the game has been out and still play it to this day.
Got that energy.
So, Matt, I think the reason why you do really well in Blades is because you're one of the most proactive players I've ever seen.
Correct.
Like, you just go, I just do things. I don't give a fuck. I'm going to walk up and talk to somebody. I'm going to do something. I'm going to break something. I'm going to fucking shoot somebody in the kneecap.
Yeah.
That's a big one.
Just all of that. Like, I know Brett, our editor, is another just incredibly proactive player.
Oh, yeah, Brett's great about that.
You can put him in a room and put anything in that room, and his character will be like, all right, well, I'm gonna look at it, I'm gonna like
poke it with the stick.
Just like give him the most base items and he'll come up with something. Like to my favorite moment that Brett has pulled off as my player was in the very first session where they had to fight a boss that its body just constantly outputted stupid levels of electricity, like could power a town by itself. And he, of all things, like, they're level 1. They don't have special gear. They got whatever they get to start the game with. That's it. But they were in this little outpost, and he was like, hey, do you have, because there's a bunch of destroyed buildings, they're like, hey, do you got like copper wire and do you have some steel rods? And the guys was like, what? I don't understand. What are you telling me? He's like, just trust me. Do you have copper wire? Do you have steel rods? And he took the 2 mundane items and made a lightning rod and was like, well, surely if the creature can shoot lightning at us, like the witnesses say that it can, a lightning rod should like divert the monster's energy in theory. And in my head, I was like, this is fucking genius. I didn't even think about this. This is
That's
awesome.
big brain plays.
Yeah.
This is so 5-head. Like, what the fuck? And I was like, there's no way I can't give him something cool for this.
Yeah, you can't say no at that point.
No, I was like, this is so based. Like, how what?
Yeah.
This is my character in my first game that was making fucking mustard gas with silver iodide to kill werewolves.
Yeah. I mean, it's also, I can also speak, I guess we're just talking about Brett now. Speaking to Brett as a player, I know I can dangle basically anything in front of Brett's face and he's going to just start slapping at it in some fashion. So
yes,
it's really
correct.
easy to be like, hey, you want the shiny thing? And Brett goes, absolutely.
Yes.
I
He's
really
like a
quick, I just
magpie.
want to talk about this one thing. I just got to talk about the sack of flour because I think it's the
Yes.
first time I've ever completely stumped Josh.
Yeah.
And just him be like, all right, wait, pause.
Pause. Yeah.
Why do you want a sack of flour? I'm like, all right, well, here's the thing, right? We're in a room, we're in like an enclosed room. I can throw the sack of flour and puncture it. It'll get the fine vapor everywhere, and then I can ignite it and it'll go off like a bomb. And he's just like, what?
That's some like old school D&D thinking.
Yeah,
right?
100%.
Because a lot of people are like, we gotta go in the dungeon. We gotta get 3 sacks of flour just in case there might be invisible stalkers in this room. Just throw it. It's fine. It's gonna work out.
Yeah. It's that good shit.
Yeah.
To anyone who's saying that I got that from Goblin Slayer, fuck you. No, I didn't.
To finish real quick. Yeah, so once you pick your load at the beginning of the score of blades, basically, so let's say you took a medium load, so you have 5 load, you decide in the moment, okay, I have a dagger on me, and you mark off 1 load during the mission. You don't have to decide it prior, you decide it while you're in the mission. And then you say, all right, my character has 2 pistols, mark off 2 load. So you just say retroactively, you say in the moment, my character brought this thing retroactively, because the idea is that your character is a professional criminal. They would know what equipment they would need to bring. So to represent that, you as the player just mark off exactly what you need in the moment. So it's a very fun mechanic, and it's really easy to graft onto like any other game. So just slap it everywhere.
It is. And just real quick, just to tell
Works
them,
great.
From the load thing is the flashbacks in Blades, which is my favorite feature.
Yep.
And I like, yay, we're actually talking about new rule systems other than 5e and 5e and Jason. Fuck yeah, boys, let's go.
I mean, yeah, true.
But the system, Matt, basically says that you can, like a heist movie, flash back to a previous event at any time leading up to the series of events and be like, oh, well, I like flash back to that moment where I remembered that I might need this thing so I can do that thing. So like if you want to crack a safe and you're like, oh, well, do you have like the safe drill? And you're like, all right, well, I'll flash back to where I remembered to bring that, and we loaded that in the back of the truck before we left. And then you just have that item and you're like, fuck yes, let's go.
And you can get pretty elaborate with it too, because it's not free. There is so you spend what's called stress in the game. And if you max out on stress, you're out of the mission. So it's not free, but you can also get pretty elaborate where you can be like, oh, I'm going to flashback and say my character rigged like a trip mine on that doorway before we came to do the mission, because that's something that I would have probably thought to do. And then so you do the flashback. Maybe there's a role involved, maybe there's not, depends. And then that becomes a thing that actively happens in the mission. Then the bad guys open the door and they blow themselves up. So like you can do some pretty wild stuff with it. And if you get good with it, you can really like, you can pull off some pretty great stuff that really does genuinely feel like that kind of heist movie shit where they do the flashback. They're like, well, I grabbed the false documents right before we got here. You know, like that kind of shit.
Yeah, that Fight Club intro. Go on, sorry, man. I was saying.
Yeah.
I'm doing the cutting
much.
Damn it, I did it again.
All right.
Fuck, I'm sorry.
It's fine. Now, as much as I love talking about Blades, we have gotten super off topic.
Yes. Okay.
But Josh.
Yes. I don't, bro, loot. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm gonna be honest, and this is where Sam and Isaiah probably call me out.
Talk to him.
Yeah.
Loot is one of those parts of the game that I kind of don't care that much about. I'm gonna be honest. Like,
we realized.
Yeah.
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 Well, we
just
certainly have.
I know. Okay, listen, and I'm trying to be more conscious of it because
It's a thing a lot of DMs do
I
and
just don't-
sometimes.
Yeah, I
Is this
just
why-
don't
Is this
care
why you
that
didn't
much.
want to
Okay,
talk about? Is this why you didn't want to talk about
maybe, maybe because I'm gonna get called out. Maybe. So like, okay, let me. I shouldn't say I don't care about it because that's half not true. All right.
Mm.
I like the loot with a narrative backbone to it, right? Okay.
Mhm.
So I really like it if the loot informs the story or adds to the character, shit like that, which is why the first thing you guys got was a +1 sword, but it was a +1 sword with a name and a history, and it was attached to a character in the past, and it was in that character's tomb that you got it from, and it was damaged when you found it. Like, so there was like all these layers to it. Now it's a +1 sword, although it has since upgraded into. By the way, if you didn't notice, it's a Mace of Disruption, but a sword.
Yes.
No, I noticed.
So, yeah. So it's like that kind of loot, love it. But stuff like money or like smaller items or like even sometimes just rolling on the loot table, I'm like, I'm like, I've done it a little bit. It just doesn't, it hit different. I don't know. So I'm trying to be better about it because I do know the other problem too, though, particularly with 5e. Well, okay, there's two problems here. One is the games I like to run kind of don't give a fuck about loot that much in general anyway.
I've noticed.
Apocalypse World literally has no rules for loot. They don't care. I mean, there's like a gear list, but there's no like getting a magic item, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But with 5e, it's like they describe the pace that it's supposed to be at, but it feels kind of wonky because just like the 6 encounters a day situation with 5e, nobody really plays that way. So the loot pacing and the way they describe it is also not really a way somebody plays, I feel. You know?
I'll be honest, a lot of
So
the pacing that is described in 5e, not the way that anybody plays the game. I get where you're coming
Right,
from.
exactly. So that is
Which
a
is
big
why I
part of it.
asked, how do you pacing of loot?
Yeah, so like I kind of pacing for me, how often you guys get loot, I just feel it out. I'm gonna be honest. I just kind of vibe it and go from there. like for example, Matt's laughing at me over here.
No, I'm laughing at Isaiah's reaction.
Oh. So like to give an
wish I
example,
could
okay,
see.
Isaiah can't get mad though. Isaiah's had a +1 shield since like level 4. So he
I have,
really
yeah.
can't get that mad. And
Well,
+1
I'm-
shields are something they don't tell you to give until like level 10. Just saying.
It's true. I'm also an artificer, so I can just make a lot of my own cool shit. Which
He
I've
can
been
also make
doing.
his own cool shit. But here's the thing, okay? For example, right? All right, we'll peel back the curtain a little bit here. The last player who got like a major magic item the last character was Kai, right?
Yep.
The reason I gave it to Kai was literally just because the player in question, I was like, oh, he hasn't gotten any good scenes. He hasn't gotten any really good story beats. So I'm going to make this dungeon section in the temple about his character and then give him a piece of loot. That's literally why I did that, you know? Because I was like, who hasn't had a good, like, meaty scene or thing yet? And I was like, okay, it's Kai. So we're going to do him next. And that's kind of just how I roll with it for the most part. I just kind of feel it out. And obviously there's some flaws to that system because sometimes you feel it out. Sometimes you just really like one player's character more than the others, even if you don't mean to. So there's that problem, you know?
Yeah. I mean,
Uh,
I fully understand that, and I try real hard not to play favorites when it comes to like
Right.
loot or abilities. Like Josh, I know Haven is like really lacking in the special items department, but I have ideas in the back of my head. It's just that y'all don't do the things that I want you to do to trigger it. So I'm like, how do I
Well,
do this without?
I mean,
like,
I will say in
making it
regard
feel
to
like
that,
it's forced.
right? Yeah. Well, I will say in regard to that doesn't really bother me because I did get a whole story arc chunk.
I know.
not that long ago. so that's fine, you know.
It still sits in the
But-
back of my mind, however, like, all
Right?
right,
Yeah.
you
I get
know,
what you're saying.
all these characters are getting something, and I'm sitting here staring at the one character, like, all right, I need to give
sorcerer.
this character something.
Yeah.
and then Matt stole one of the things from
And
you.
then Matt stole it. Yes.
Man, I hate it.
But it was funny. Another thing I try to do to kind of help is like give items that are kind of just party magic items in general, right? Like I gave you guys the decanter of endless water and the conjure water elementals because I was like, anyone can use that. They can just pass it around. Those are two types of magic items where they can do some weird shit with them, come up with some weird plans. You know, they're those kind of magic items. So I do
Josh,
also
what
try
about-
to do that.
What about everyone's favorite common magic item? The ever-billowing cloak.
Mm.
The one that
I haven't gotten one yet.
I
The
was
one,
gonna say
the one
that
from
Josh
Who
has that's
Framed
made out of
Roger
clouds.
Rabbit.
Yes. Yeah. Or like I gave the group a bag of holding pretty early on, but because I wanted it to be funnier, I made it a sentient talking bag of holding.
Yeah.
Just because I could. His name's Bartholomew the bag.
Did you make the
I
bag
love
from
and
Dora
hate
the
him.
Explorer?
Essentially, yes.
No, he's a little more posh. He's got some more British energy to him.
Also not purple.
He's not purple though. He's brown. But yeah,
he
I just
should
made a
be.
sentient
I'm
bag of
making
holding because I
purple.
thought it'd be funny. And I thought it'd be a good little add in. I will say you did throw away. I did give y'all a staff of pythons and you just said fuck it. So, you know.
Okay, first of all, we didn't throw it away.
You didn't throw it away.
You literally had guards come up and be like, all right, we need all the evidence. And I'm like, all right, so I can either pocket the lore, the important lore, or I can pocket the staff of serpents.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm gonna take the lore. My character is 100% about taking the lore. I'm about taking the lore.
That's
Like,
that's fair. That's fair.
so
That
you
is
know,
sick.
it was a balancing act there where I was like, all right, I need something to throw them off. Here's the thing that I'm gonna throw them off.
Yeah. And you know, I do have some ideas coming up relatively soon. I have an idea. Okay. You know that moment where you have like a moment of inspiration and you're like, that would be super fucking cool in my campaign. I need to do that ASAP.
Mhm.
I had one of those. So I'm hoping very soon we're going to do some wild shit. Should be interesting.
Oh boy.
So yeah, get excited for that one. And we'll have, I'm sure there'll be some interesting conversation once that one happens. I might even make a topic. That might even become a topic for recording, to be honest, because if I do it right, it should be quite interesting.
I'm excited.
But yeah, so yeah, I don't know. Loot is just one of those things. I think every DM has some parts of the game that they like and some parts of the game that they don't, you know? And I think it varies on a system by system basis, right?
I mean, of
If I'm
course.
playing Apocalypse World, right? Let's say I don't really care about like the economy and like what gear everyone has and like what the party comp it, right? Like that kind of, none of that shit matters. I care about NPCs and that's basically it. Like that is the thing in that game is like the NPCs and how they relate to the characters and then how they relate to the fronts. If I'm playing D&D, I care about the monsters and like the overarching adventure and how those two things interplay. And then are the characters getting their like cool moments? Loot, dungeon design, like proper like economy and pacing and all that. Nah. Leveling, pacing. All right. I will say this. Sam and Isaiah, I need you to confirm. I feel like leveling pacing has been pretty good, even though I'm fucking winging the hell out of it. Do you agree?
Yeah, it's pretty good. All right.
Right?
I don't have
mean,
any like outright complaints with it.
I don't have any complaints other than the fact that I have hook and you have bait and I take bait and my character gets experience every time.
Yes.
So,
And it's, look, Sam, you being
like,
ahead of everyone, that's fine. But like
I
the
think
overall,
the gap getting larger every single session is funny to me. Not that it like really matters
a little
all
funny.
that much, but it is funny to me that it's like, all right, and I'm level, like I totally forgot that kinds of fear are level.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm like,
Mhm.
oh, I'm level 9, and I'm like almost halfway to level 10 already.
Right.
Yeah,
So-
I'm pretty close to that as well.
Yeah.
know-
it's not like the pacing that you're doing is wrong. It's just when you add an extra rule for experience, you're gonna have players that take advantage of it.
Yeah.
And then you're gonna have players that
It
don't
is
really know how to take advantage of it.
yes.
Me having played with it several times now, understand
True.
completely
True.
how to take advantage of the system, whereas Kai and Zafir are like, I'm gonna like push for it, but like I don't know if I should because the character did enough. It also doesn't help that Isaiah's characters end up taking the spotlight a lot
We do, yeah.
when it comes to the role-playing sections.
I will
But-
say it's kind of funny too, because Sam, in our Stars campaign, you were the Brett of the party.
I was
Right, like,
I was the bread of
you
the
were
party.
way behind,
I hate this label.
which
Yeah.
was interesting.
Way behind, which ultimately made me worse in combat, which ultimately made me not want to do anything.
It
in
was
the game
definitely
because
more
I
of a problem in
couldn't.
that game than it is in 5e.
I
That like Stars Without
yes,
Number as a
absolutely.
system, the level disparity was way more of an issue.
I mean, it's almost like Pathfinder, how level disparity works.
I don't know if
in
I don't know if I go quite that far, but it kind of feels like it in some way.
Yeah. Yeah, like Pathfinder's, level pacing is way different 5e.
But yeah, pacing for loot. What the fuck's that? I don't.
I mean, you gave us a magic weapon that levels up with us.
I did.
Like,
Yeah.
that's partially pacing. Like,
Yeah.
that
I
is
do love
one
that. I
good
love-
way to control pacing.
I love. Oh yeah, no, I love evolving. Evolving magic items is top tier. And no, I didn't steal it from Critical Role. I had that thought way before.
Well,
All right.
something in older editions like
Yeah.
evolving magic items, and now it's
Older
just starting to
editions,
become
Anime does that shit.
yeah.
A lot of fantasy novels in general. Like it's not.
Yeah, can I
Matt Mercer
give a
didn't
quick-
invent the fuck. The vestiges of divergence are cool, but it's not like Matt Mercer like sprung that idea out of nothing.
No, I just want to give a quick plug, kind of on that same like evolving magic items. Cobalt Press came out with a book not that long ago called Vault of Magic, and it's basically just here's a giant book of new magic items, and they have a whole section they called Fabled Magic Items that are evolving magic items, and they do it by level. Whereas like with 5e and Critical Role, they have the magic items evolve when you do a story bit or whatever, but it's up to the DM and the player, whatever. The Fable ones from Cobalt Press are actually based on levels, so it's like way easier to track, and so it's like, all right, level 5 this
All right.
happens, and level 7 this happens.
Hold on though. Point of contention on that one.
Yeah.
I don't think I like tying it to levels. I think I actually, and I know this is, before anyone points it out, I know this is contradicting my stance on Milestone XP because I'm about to say the exact opposite. I kind of like handing out the level up of the magic item as a story beat.
I like it too. I
I like
too.
it that way more.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of a mix. What were you gonna say, Isaiah?
Say it. I say it. Yes, I say it.
And just in response to Josh's statement,
I know.
I
I know.
have words. I have words.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I think this is kind of the pot calling the kettle black. This is what I'm saying. I think you're kind of backtracking in a different
All
way.
right.
It's
All right. The
Uh-huh.
difference. Okay.
Uh-huh. What's
now
the
I have
difference,
to.
Josh?
I know.
Tell
Now
me.
I have to justify my stance.
Yeah,
I know.
what's the difference?
I
What's
think
the difference?
the difference for me, right, is XP and leveling up and what's on your character sheet, all that shit is
wait,
all-
why did it zoom in like that?
because my
Your camera just like
I know
really quick.
it's because. All right, for everyone on the internet, I have to explain this now because you guys can't see it. I have an old webcam, so Discord fights with it a lot, so sometimes it fills the whole frame and sometimes it doesn't. So it just randomly zoomed in on my face. I have to get a new webcam at some point, but anyway.
Oh my god, that was so. It was right as you started talking.
I
so
know,
it's
I
just
know.
a
The
meme
timing of it was very
compilation.
funny.
It was like-
I know.
It's like, let me explain my point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was so good.
Jesus
Fuck.
Christ. This is gonna be a really weird segment because we don't have video.
Yeah,
Anyway.
we can edit this out in post. Don't worry.
Oh
Wait,
God.
That's not how it works, man.
Brett,
No,
add the-
we're not
add the-
editing
add
this.
the monkey-
we don't
monkey
do that
song
kind
in
of.
there.
No,
Let's go.
we don't do that kind of editing here.
Y'all don't even pay me enough for this kind of editing.
Oh shit.
Anyway,
Wrong show.
Okay.
Got him.
So, XP, leveling up, character advancement, all that shit, right? That is all player-facing mechanics that are the thing that you as a player have control over. I, as a GM, don't get to tell you no, you don't use your ability or whatever, right? Like, I mean, I can't obviously story stuff, but like on a base level, the stuff on your sheet is yours. Loot and magic items and shit like that is different because that is a GM facing thing that you hand to the players. And if you're doing evolving magic items, I feel like it's better if you as a GM have a plan for what you want to do with the evolving magic item. And because that plan is GM facing, it feels less dickish, I guess is the only way I can put it, right? And also it lets you, let's say you have a magic sword and it's a +1, and you as a GM, you're like, okay, this sword's gonna evolve into a flame tongue. The idea that I hit level 6 and then suddenly I wake up and it's a flame tongue now, it feels kind of Whereas I go into the mountain and find the giant's forge and plunge my +1 sword into the giant's smithing forge, and then it transforms into a flame tongue from the magical fire of the giant's forge. That feels a lot cooler, and now I have more story to add to my character with that item. So that I like more.
Yes, so I agree.
Not to tell you that you're bad at your job, all right, Josh. But like, it always just make it so that they can't do the story thing until they hit a certain level, you know? So it's both tied to their level. This is true. And it's tied to a story beat. This is true. Like, you know, no one's telling you that you have to specifically tie it to this. Only that.
I don't really like that compromise though, because that feels kind of weird to be like, all right, so you hit level 5, and like if you're using that Kobold Press book that Matt's talking about, right? Like level 5, it says my weapon upgrades, and then I as the GM go, well, no, it doesn't, because you have to do the thing first. That's kind of like needing to get a trainer for your level ups, unless you. I mean, talk about that way ahead of time. It's kind of, you know.
Okay, but like here's the thing though, if you don't, okay, all right. I'm gonna give you an example. All right, so let's say like, I'm gonna, or at least try. I don't know. You're stubborn, like a mule.
All right, now the pot's calling the kettle black. Just so we're clear.
I never said that I wasn't stubborn.
Okay.
I think I'm fairly flexible when it comes to like rulings and shit and changing the ways that I do things. In games.
That's true. Yes, you are very flexible when it comes to rulings.
So, but like, so for instance, all right, let's say that you're using the evolving item. But you talk to your players, you're like, hey, look, you say, because, and here's my thing with not making it levels and just kind of making it things. Your players will just start searching for things to upgrade the weapon, and they'll just start doing wild things to do it. So what I would prefer to do is...
You're not wrong.
Yeah. So as a DM, you should, in the back of your mind, and this is DM facing, as you said before, you should have it so like, okay, so when they hit this level, I'm gonna give them this little plot hook. And this plot hook will then bring them to this point that will allow them to upgrade the weapon. Rather than being like, oh, and this is how you do the magic item pacing, because sometimes they're like, oh, they should have a +1 weapon by this point in time, or they should have a or this magic item by this point, like, or could have this because it's like an uncommon item and be kitted out at this point. Whatever, doesn't matter. So, for instance, like, let's say, we'll use your example of plunging your sword into the giant's forge, all right? So, like, you hit level 6, all right? And you're resting in this town or whatever, and, like, you hear this rumor about a giant's forge and how any weapon that goes in there comes out stronger, better, faster, any adjective that you want to describe how the weapon just becomes stronger. And then players will immediately be like, all right, well, the DM is telling me something here. Stronger weapon. And then, like, you can go for that. And especially the stronger weapon thing. Better weapon, good. Me like better weapon. So then the players will have an active interest in it, as well as it's a plot hook. And you can turn that into, just like you were saying. But you tie that, like you tie when these trigger to the character's level of whatever, or you could do what I do with Isaiah learning how to do the cross counter and upgrading it whenever he hits a certain point on his progression clock. But like,
So you're
do
saying
things-
combine the two?
Combine the two, yeah.
So
Because like I like I sometimes like milestone XP. I feel like it has to be a very tailored experience, because doing it in pre-written adventures makes it much better for the pre-written adventures pacing, because like you could take forever to finish those if you do be a normal series.
Oof.
Like it would take ages for you guys to be the proper level for certain things. But like when it comes to long-form campaigns, I 100% see why you would not want to use milestone in the very beginning of the game. I actually think it's better in the beginning of the game and the end game. I think middle game, which is like for me level 4 to level 15, I think that's perfect. Just to not do milestone and just kind of do quest reward and stuff. But I digress. Yeah, I think combining the two ideas is much better pacing than just being like, well, here's the magic thing that does the magic thing to the sword, and then your players are going to go like, I need to search for the thing like all the time.
So I agree. So the option I was thinking of initially was also some sort of implementing of both. And I've done this personally with something sort of akin to an evolving magic item, where you don't have your item will increase its abilities when you hit a certain level or when you hit a certain point in your progression, right? I sort of see it as the level is the guarantee, the character moment is the reward in a way, because it's the idea that your +1 sword will eventually become a +2 sword when you hit level 8, level 9, whatever, is cool. But if you take the time to research the Giant's Forge, make sure you have the right materials, make sure you've read up on the Giant's culture to know that like they only deal in a certain sort of way, to roll really high on the persuasion check to let you use the forge. That is when I will be like, all right, well, you've done so much, you've gone so far above and beyond that I will give you this thing early. And I'm totally fine with not giving other players the same reward if they didn't do the same work. If everybody's like, oh, then we all can use the forge, and the Giant's like, whoa, no, that wasn't part of the deal. She can use the forge. I don't know why I was worried about that. They can use the forge because they spoke to me in my language. They offered me my favorite kind of wine. They came bearing gifts. They were trying to be nice. All this stuff they did. I'm gonna reward them because I like them. I don't know any of you goobers. If you wanna, and it's like, and now, like, I'm not giving you this idea. I'm not gonna take this from you as a payment. If you want to get cooler weapons, you can do it, but you're gonna have to figure out another method because I'm not doing this for freebies again. So something like that.
Right. So you're also combining the concept.
Yeah. And as someone that went to level 20 in a game, we stopped using milestone, I think, around like 10th or 11th level. Or we stopped using XP for 10th or 11th, around like level 10 or 11. And it just made the game so much easier after that.
Yeah.
Because that's when that 5e, at least, that's when things start to get a little wonky.
Yeah. But Matt,
we already had the XP episode.
Yeah, we have.
I know.
So don't make me fight you again, Matt.
No. I was just throwing it like.
You say easier for you, maybe. I say disappointing as a player. I gave my opinions already.
We don't care about
conversation
players
will
here
end in
because
fisticuffs. I can't.
we are DMs here. We are not players. There's a difference.
It's just true. I'm rarely a player. So
I listen. I think that's just something you discuss with your players if they like it. And of course, I think getting to a certain point in the game is like, all right, buddy, we're changing because y'all are never gonna level, or I'm gonna have to start throwing huge things at you, or you're gonna fight literally everything, and that just de-incentivizes me into me.
I will say this: I don't hate it so much that if someone's like, we're gonna use milestone XP, I'm immediately like, fuck you, I'm out of the campaign. I'm not that vitriolic about it. I just generally don't like it.
I mean, I think it's better for certain pacings, especially like level 1 to 3. I think is getting experience for those levels, unless you start at level 3, which I generally do. I think that's good because then you kind of let your players figure stuff out, especially if they're new. Figure stuff out. They don't have to worry about having an overwhelming amount of stuff, and then shift them to the next level. Like that especially.
I mean,
I
if
think
fucking
milestones
XP at the
important.
low levels is so goddamn fast anyway, it might as well be milestone.
That's another thing. Like it just should be milestone, but whatever.
The level 1
I-
and 2 being trash is such a weird thing, and they fixed that. It was a solved issue in 4E, and then they just said LOL, never mind. And so,
I mean, 4E has its own set of issues, but we're getting off topic. I haven't even heard Matt talk about how he deals with loot. Like
true.
Yeah.
True.
I was-
2
I was-
hours in.
I was just waiting patiently because I
I know.
kind
I
of
feel
got a
so
lot.
bad now.
you've been really
I mean,
quiet,
Matt's
and
tapped
you're the
in
one.
a few times. Look, it's not like he
Yeah,
said
but
nothing.
I know, but
Jesus, I'm so sorry.
he is our boy that has done the level 20 campaign
It's true.
from level
He
1.
has.
Listen
he
to
has,
me,
yeah.
the Grand Wizard. No,
I
Don't say
You do
Grand
have
Wizard
that
energy,
energy,
far.
man. You do have Grand
say Grand
Wizard
Wizard.
energy.
Don't say Grand
Oh,
Wizard.
right. Oh, right. I gotta change it.
Okay,
No,
no.
I don't know. What's
I
another
know.
cool? What's another
Let's
cool?
not.
I don't know. Powerful sage, whatever.
Ultimate
I-
sorcerer.
Yeah,
Moving
I don't know.
on.
Play,
Anyway.
play too much. Play too much.
Jesus
Archmage,
Christ.
Archdruid.
Archmage.
Yeah.
I like Archmage. Let's go with that
Anywho.
one. Matt's an Archmage.
Yeah, 'cause I
Fucking
just-
Dickus
Christ, Isaiah.
Magicus.
Isaiah, I
Dickus
can't believe you
Magicus.
just reminded me of that. Fucking hell. Nothing. Never mind. It's
What?
fine.
I-
Moving on.
What?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of points we did
How
kind of
tough-
cover.
Yeah. How
Like-
doth loot?
Yeah, so one thing definitely gearing towards players big because like you'll have the players who love getting any kind of like bonus to a weapon or whatever and be like, yes, a +3 sword or whatever. Sometimes though, try to like diversify the weapons and the magic items. Don't just always throw out fucking +1, +2
Matt,
weapons.
All I
Yeah.
want is flaming swords.
All you want is flaming. That's fine.
God,
All right.
boy.
I
And what
want
if I give
flaming swords. I want a flaming axe. I want a flaming shield. I want a flaming dildo. I want a wait, what?
I mean, I think yeah,
want-
we
I
might
want a
do that.
flaming
man.
wand
Yeah.
that shoots
it's too
flaming
late.
wands.
It's too late. No, it's too late.
Oh,
There's no
a wand that
transitioning from
shoots
that last
flaming
one. It's okay. We know
But-
the truth now.
Yeah.
I
But,
want it
yeah,
all.
like mix it
Flaming.
up with like
I don't. How'd that even work?
I don't know. Who
Anyways.
cares?
I do.
I'm just thinking of
I'm gonna
Violent
think about
Saints Row
this
3.
forever now.
Yeah.
But yeah, like
Yeah.
mix it up with throwing like a movable rod or something in there, like other magic items, fun things. Cloak of
Magic
Billowing.
sword, cool.
A magic sword that talks to your players, and that's
I'm down
it.
for that one. It's fine.
Like-
A shield that makes shield puns.
Yeah, shield that makes shield puns.
Wait, Matt,
Oh.
please describe the edible greatsword.
Oh yeah, I
Please tell this
forgot
story.
where I know I got this from somewhere, either Reddit or whatever. But like this is like
I know what you're talking about.
Sounds
early-
like some Reddit shit.
early on in my campaign. Like literally, this is like maybe the 4th or 5th session. The players found a talking like greatsword, and the joke was that it's an edible greatsword, and every time you bite it, it like healed you for a little bit. But then like I think it does less damage. But every time the players would like bite it, it would like make a like it just loved getting bitten by a sword because it was
It
like
had a biting kink.
yeah, the biting kink. They just enjoyed it.
Make that sound again, please.
It was just like every time it's like, oh guys, I'm in the middle of a fight. Oh, I gotta take a bite of my greatsword, and it's like chomp. And you're just like the orc on the other side's very confused. And it's just like, are you moaning? We're fighting. I'm trying to kill you. What? Are you getting off on this? This is gross. I'm out of here. You humans are weird. Just walks away.
Accurate statement. We humans are indeed
You
weird.
humans are weird. I'm out of here.
I
Accurate
will keep my
statement.
mouth shut.
Whole warband gone. It's just like we did
Yeah.
it. We saved the kingdom. We made them uncomfortable.
We weirded them out to the point they decided to leave.
They said,
Yeah.
"LOL, never mind."
All right.
We did it, gamers. Save
But yeah.
the day again.
But I love random tables, like just kind of like with the magic. I love it with anything like NPC
Matt
ideas,
is an agent
cities.
of chaos.
I love it. Well,
I
that's
mean,
the
I
thing.
agree with him.
Yeah, it's like
Agent of
but the
chaos
best
is
part
good.
about the table is like you don't have to roll. you could just look at it and pick something, or you could look at something and be like, I like this idea, these two ideas, or this one idea, but I want to tweak it and make it my own. And that's like the beauty of it. It's like inspiration.
I 100% agree with that, because there are times where I'm like, what items do I want to give my players? And then I just see the name of an item and say, you know what? That one.
Right.
I don't care what it do.
Yeah. It's like, what is stick to snakes? It's like, what kind of item is that? What kind of item is that?
That was a spell.
I missed that spell.
In like 2e, 3?
Yes, 2e.
I just wait with bated breath until Sam gives us the item of that explodes into snakes. So just any corpse explodes into snakes.
Wait, actually, no, hold on. It's a staff that when you kill something with it, they explode into snakes.
Yes.
Awesome.
I like this idea a lot. Hold on, I'm writing that one down.
Oh my god. This is where
process.
Sam comes up with many GMing ideas. One of us says some dumb shit and Sam goes, writing that one down.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I mean, I still have the note that literally just says clown trees.
Yes. I cannot wait.
God.
Cannot wait till we get to that
I forgot about that.
one layer. And it's like, why do I hear nothing but tree barks bellowing in the wind and clown horns? Like, what's going on?
Clown horn noises in the wind. Oh my god.
I have a lot of
Air horn trees? Question.
I have a lot of weird notes on my phone. Power armor is just a wearable gun. Get Matt a hat that says for nothing in your mom. An exploding
What?
cupcake is a cupcake. There's a lot of
Cupcake.
Oh,
so, like, you know,
What?
Jesus.
When did any of us say that?
I don't remember.
I'm so confused.
I know our game can be weird sometimes, but I don't think like that.
No. None of us said cupcake. That's a Sam special.
That's a Sam special. That's
That's a
gotta
Sam
be.
special.
There's no way in
100%.
hell none of us have ever said that.
Oh my god, what the fuck, Sam?
yeah,
Oh my
no,
god, do you need some
they're-
fucking milk? Jesus Christ.
I think of things and then I write them down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh my
Like,
But-
yeah.
Yeah.
my DMing prep phase is literally all of the time, because I will just open my phone, write a set of notes. People will look at me like I'm crazy because I will stop conversations because I'll have thought of something and then just write it down and be like, I'm doing this at some point.
Must save for later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I have like 3 notebooks full of notes that are stupid things. I know I have 3 or 4 pages of just really dumb traps that don't harm the players but make them think.
Just
Wow.
make them think.
Wow.
How dare you? You make me use
like
my
the doorway
brain.
that just changes your gender when you walk through.
All right. That was fun.
That was so
Me.
funny. Changeling walks through, nothing happens.
Yes, I see.
I don't
Yeah.
even.
Anyways, Matt,
Anyways,
please.
Matt, yeah. I
Yeah.
don't-
But yeah, and then one of the other things with kind of on the gearing magic items and stuff towards players, your players might just tell you, honestly, just be like, yo man, my favorite item is a Vorpal sword. And you're just like, okay.
I
and then you
literally-
leave red.
No. I literally, I don't know, a little while ago, messaged the group chat for my game and was like, give me a magic item you want.
Yeah.
And I just tucked those away.
Yeah,
he got
also,
mad at us.
ask him.
He got mad at us because we gave him options, and he's like, "Why did you give me options? I just wanted one." I was like, "Because we want more than one magic item, bro. What the fuck?"
Yeah,
I know,
Josh, the
but the
magic
reason I said
answer is
one
3.
is because
Always
I was
3.
No, I said 1 because I was only looking at the short term at the moment. I wasn't sure where I was going afterward.
No, you always got to give 3, and then that gives you options to pick one, and the players aren't mad at you for ignoring the other 2 because they still got 1.
But they will
See,
be
that's
mad
the
at me
trick.
for ignoring the other 2, or at least Isaiah will.
Or just give it to him down the line. It's
Isaiah
fine.
wants me to give him a fucking rocket fist at level 2.
I mean, he's an artificer. He can just build it.
I
You just
did. I
said
did
it.
want a rocket
Not
fist
for a
level
little
2,
while.
because it's dumb how that item is so rare, because it doesn't do all that much. It just lets you shoot your fist out up to 60 feet. Also, I found out that that's just a built-in thing that an artificer can get at level 14. for free.
It is, yeah.
So,
Oh, really?
You know, yeah, it's an item you can get, and it's also just an artificer ability. And I was like, all right, cool. Just to know, it's good to know that I can have this no matter what.
It's like one of the infusions or something,
it's an
right?
infusion.
Yeah.
Nice. What was it? I was thinking. Oh, yeah.
Just your players telling you what their favorite.
Yeah,
magic-
players will tell you. Yeah, players will tell you what they want. Also, think of like you as a DM. Like, what would they want? What do you think might be a cool magic item? What do you think will be a funny magic item, or something very dramatic? Also, what do you guys feel about like sentient magic items, cursed magic items?
My
'Cause-
favorite. Fucking love it. Love
I
sentient
like it.
magic items. That's my absolute favorite shit.
Yeah, so cursed
More.
magic items, I feel like are tough because if you use them too much, it just becomes a D&D horror story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I feel like there are more interesting ways of cursing an item than it just being you don't ever want to put it down, you can't let it out of your sight, and you'll try to murder anybody who touches it. I can't say that I'm creative enough to come up with a cooler curse, but I like the idea of an item cursing you in a way that it's not like immediately apparent, right? Like maybe you
To curse on the low key.
Yeah, well, maybe it's like small things like oh, you're like more inclined to be like lethal against bandits. Like maybe
Right,
every so often.
Something that hints without directly saying right away, and then make sure the player be like, "Oh, that's weird."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I can say Ant did this for me in the Fire Emblem campaign that we were in, because I had a cursed sword for a while, and one of the things was one of the players, she was like, oh, like she was playing a pacifist, so she's like, you can fuck people up, you just can't murder them. And you know, my character was obliging to that to the best he could be, but basically anytime anybody was out of sight, he just murdered everything in the general vicinity. And the one time he was trying to be non-lethal with that sword, it like killed this character's father, and I was like, shit. You know what I mean? And like I wasn't aware of like how cursed it was going to be. It was just like, oh, for every time you fight someone and don't take their life, it's going to become harder to resist that later on, which was a cool curse.
Yeah, I mean that's
Nice.
a good way to do it. The thing with curses, I think most of the time, is they just feel like punitive shit for the sake of being punitive,
Yes.
and that's there's better things you can do with it. I mean, the cursed item I just recently did, right? Like Kai got that cursed amulet. The reason I made it cursed was so I could introduce the NPC that I introduced, so I could then teach you more about the setting, right? Like that was why that curse was there. It wasn't just for me to dick on that, like it wasn't just for me to dick on that player's character,
Mhm.
you know? So, and it also wasn't that aggressive of a curse either, so it wasn't the kind of thing where if he didn't take care of it, he was fucked, right? It was just a -1 to spell attacks and spell saves, and he's a bard, so it's like, it's manageable. But yeah, there are definitely, you can definitely just go the route of curses just mean fuck you.
Right.
Yeah.
And that shit's
It's kind of
Trash.
whatever. I feel
It's
like
trash.
I feel like it really propagates the whole DM versus player mentality,
yeah.
which I
Right.
don't
Correct.
really like. Now, I like curses when you're fighting enemies is interesting because like recently I hit one of my players in the Monday game with the mummy's rod, which is like a particularly mean one. But I kind of, because they're only like level 3, I nerf the mummy a little bit and I nerf the rot. Stuff like that can, like introducing the NPC, Josh, it can make the player be like, oh, I need to remove this, so I need to find someone who can,
right.
you know?
And then you have, and even for example, it could even be a situation where, like, let's say the players they're new to the area, and then suddenly now they have to hunt down someone who removes a curse, and then now all of a sudden they're tied to the area because they've had to find this cleric, and then the cleric showed them around. Now they're staying at his house, and suddenly now they have a connection. That's a good loot. Story through loot, always a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Although,
Yeah.
I will say, so the DMG does mention that concept where they'll be like, oh, you could make this particular item like a story beat thing.
Oh yeah.
But they always present it in such a fashion where it's like, oh, this is going to be a really fucking annoying thing that's going to take some time. So you could just make it like a cool adventure. And it's like, well, what if I'm in the middle of something else? I it's never presented great in the DMG, but there are ways to do that idea.
Right.
Well, and
I mean, they
not annoying.
have a bunch of these tables where it's like, oh, who created it? And that gives you like, it was made by an elf or a fae or a dragon or celestial. It's like,
I'm not
what's
even
the
talking
history?
about that.
Well, I'm saying like adding story to weapons and like that's like they
Oh yeah, yeah,
calling
yeah.
it out
If you're
from the
adding,
DMG.
yes, yeah. Although, I don't see myself ever using a table like that. Because with story stuff, I always want to do it myself. Maybe I'm alone in that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
As a person who literally writes stuff for the weapons and like makes the custom all the custom content. Yeah, no, I feel you on that one. I wouldn't 100% make a story table, but you know, Matt, our resident chaos enthusiast.
Yeah, that's how we can describe him.
Yeah. I just can't see myself ever being like, oh, I want a story for my magic item. Let's just roll on a bunch of tables.
Yeah, because it's always
never.
It's inspiration, at least for me. That's like
It
my
is?
because
I
something
get
it's
it.
like I can come up with something, but let me see what the dice say, or let me just look at
Yeah.
this book and see what's in here, and maybe like it'll get
Yeah.
the juices flowing, or
I
like
feel like
maybe
I
I don't like
always-
any of this shit. I'm gonna come up with one better. With
Yeah,
blackjack
I just
and
feel like I
hookers.
always have an idea right from
Blackjack.
the jump, almost always. So like, I never feel the desire to go to the table, as it were, the random table, as it were.
Yeah, some people don't like it. Some people, like me, it's like I just can't get enough. If I could have a like collection of randomized tables in one book, I would do it and just flip through. and just
That's why
randomly-
you like supplement.
Matt,
Oh.
I'm gonna have to tell you this now. Never get
Yeah.
into gambling or gotcha. You have a terrible
True.
time.
No,
Very
this
true.
is why I
Yes.
don't gamble or play gotchas
Yeah,
because
no.
I would be fucking hooked
Yeah, no,
real
don't.
bad.
Yeah,
I know
good,
myself.
like-
I would be very.
it's good you're aware of that.
Yeah,
Uh,
but yeah, definitely read the DMG, guys. There's a lot of good
No,
info
don't
on
read-
magic
fuck the
item
DMG.
stuff in there.
The book shit.
He says,
I-
okay, fuck the DMG. It's shit he says is currently using the mana system. So, like,
All right, listen, pal. A couple of parts that are
Yeah.
all right.
yeah, I
I'm
was
listening.
hoping you were
I'm
about to say,
listening.
just because you're right doesn't mean you're correct.
There's a
I mean,
couple
that's
of parts
basically
that
what
are
he said.
all right.
But yeah, like DMG's
I
and
feel like the
Xanathar's
problem
guide
with the
too.
DMG is people like to misread the DMG.
A lot of
as
people
well.
misread
True.
it. Yeah, a lot, or
True.
don't read it and then just be like, this
Or
rule doesn't
don't read it.
exist. And
And
it's
then
like,
it
oh, I
does.
got it.
Yeah, this rule doesn't exist. Oh wait, it
Yeah, I
actually
wish
does.
there were mob rules in D&D. Jeez. Well, actually,
Okay,
I'm
those
paid.
rules kind of suck though. Like,
I mean, I
No,
just use
they're-
swarm rules for mob rules.
they
at that
exist,
point.
but they're not
They're
good.
They're good for minions. They're really good for minions. That's
I mean,
how
I just
yeah.
use the 4E minion rules.
Oh god. Well, then yeah. But yeah, and also Xanathar's guide have really cool like not only like pricing and doing like magic item stuff, but also building magic items and how to go about that to make it easier and make it a quest line or a story beat or what have you. And then this is
Almost like
also
we
just
talked about stuff like that already.
right, yeah. But I know like you like how do you guys also feel about like magic item shops? Because I know it's like depending on like setting and stuff, but like I like them.
I
but
love
I
it.
went to ham in like my game, and I dispersed magic items like candy, and I allowed players to buy whatever the fuck, and that just skewed the player
mean,
strength so
Matt,
heavily.
See,
Tell you a
Um,
little secret, Matt. They can't buy a lot of magic items if you don't give them any fucking money.
Correct.
yeah, I was about to.
Yeah, fucking Josh.
Nah,
oh,
hold.
yeah, you can get up some very rare items. Josh, those are 20k. We can't afford those. We can't afford uncommon items. It's like, yeah, well,
It's almost like I'm
Me.
future proofing.
Me literally only having like 30 gold to my name. Yeah.
Yeah. under gold.
Yeah. I know. I'm aware.
I like magic item shops. My biggest issue with them, and this is more from a video game standpoint, is when I look at a magic item shop, I look at how much money I have, and I go, okay, I can spend this money now and make the game a little bit easier. But this game doesn't give me a lot of money, so I could just never spend my money until the end of the game and buy every most expensive thing ever, and just not worry about it. Just suffer now.
That's like a
For
whole
later.
other thing, though.
But that's basically what you're making us do, Josh.
I can't. I'll have to plead the fifth in this situation. That's not what's happening.
I
But
like that you just rounded it back to Josh.
okay, here's the
It's
thing.
like-
They're mad because they went to the magic item place, even though I said
I'm
don't.
not mad.
Look,
I'm-
I did
I'm
not
not
say you
mad.
had to
I'm
go there.
just-
In fact, I said you probably shouldn't.
Yeah, well, you
I
know,
have
you
some
tell a player not
plans.
to
I
do
can't
something.
say any
they're
more
like
than
a
that.
child.
I have
And
some
they're
plans,
like,
and I
"Man."
can't say any more than that. So it was really weird.
Yeah.
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 I can't.
Yeah.
Fucking Sam kills me when he
Yeah.
does this shit.
I'm just saying, it's not what you. It's not. Look,
It's not about Josh. It's not about what we think. It's about what we feel at the moment. All right. I
that's-
get that you have things in the background.
Fair.
I kind of figured.
And I
But
feel that
it's
for 30
it
gold,
is-
I should be able to buy a
That's
staff of
not-
power.
that no, I wasn't saying 30 gold. I'm saying that when I think about money in our current campaign, I'm thinking about how I can barely afford to do my character's research half the time.
look.
Hey, there are rules for that in Xanathar's got.
Again, there's the
Yes,
problem.
that we're using.
No, we're using it. Again, there's that whole problem though of the DMG or even the player's handbook actually being like, this is about how much a normal person makes, and it's like,
Yeah, I know.
and then it's how much money. You look at the loot tables and it's like, oh, adventurers are all gajillionaires. Interesting.
Mhm.
Okay.
I still
Like if you
Yeah.
follow the loot tables as suggested, adventurers are fucking loaded, like crazy loaded.
Right.
I'm just like, man, it'd be a real shame if we just got a salary for this position we just got promoted to.
Gonna get paid for the next job.
Yeah, for the job. We don't get paid salary. We
No,
don't
you
get
don't
paid
get
a
paid
living
salary.
wage. We don't get paid a living wage for
There's
like
salary and
contractors.
benefits. Fuck out of here. Ridiculous.
We have a house, but we can barely pay for food. Not that I have to eat or drink.
Yeah.
It's true. Not that any of us have to eat in that campaign except for the fucking turtle.
No, Brett.
My God.
Oh, that's right. That's right. The Genasi has to eat, but
The fuck? Yeah, I was
Yeah.
about to say. I was like, what? Hey, look, if
It's
I
just
was
that the
if I was a
turtle
real
is the only
dickhead
one that
GM,
doesn't
I'd be
breed.
making you buy cat food for your fucking cat. So like, let's not,
the cat's a stray. The cat can get his own food, her own food.
this is true.
That cat be eating better than we do.
You're not
This is
that
true.
poor. Chill.
I mean, we're pretty poor.
You could still
We only
spend
have-
enough money to live by the player's handbook. You could live an aristocratic life for like a month.
Yeah.
Easy.
There you go, guys.
What a
Yeah.
waste of money.
Just rent
It would be a waste of money,
for a
but you
month.
could do it. So you're not poor.
Just think about
Anyway.
the activities.
This is
This isn't a personal attack.
this is a
War.
I'm feeling personally attacked.
To segue and kind of end my biggest Brainicus on magic item info. One big caveat: do not, under any circumstances, even if they ask for it, don't give your players the deck of many things.
Don't tell me what to do.
Oh, that's right. You reminded me of a deck of many things change that I was.
Yes, 'cause
I'll give my players whatever the
that
fuck
one
I
down.
want, Matt. I don't
'Cause,
play by
like-
your fucking rules.
Because like it's again, as someone who loves the deck, it's my favorite magic item for reasons.
Of course it is.
But it can and will destroy games, so most DMs do you pull a card. It's a good card. Look at that. Oh, it's so random. But
If you're gonna commit to the bit, you better commit to the fucking
Oh, yeah.
bit.
most
If
DMs
you're
don't
gonna
though.
do it,
That's what
do
I'm
it.
saying.
And quite
For
frankly,
one shot, yeah.
do it. Give them the deck. Who cares? It's gonna take the campaign in a wild new direction. Who the fuck cares? Go for it.
Right. But
That's
I guess
the person running a very story-based campaign right now.
right. Yeah.
You don't know. Might give you a deck at some point.
Do it.
I'll hold you to that. I'll remember this. Where's the little notification that says Sam will remember this?
Sam will
At
remember this.
213.
Yeah.
But just to kind of end my little bit with, I have two questions actually I want to ask you guys.
Yes,
Player-
magic
players-
items are
players
cool. Or
and
magic
DMs.
item shops are cool, by the way. It was my
Yeah.
take
yes,
on
I
that
agree.
one.
Magic item shops are cool.
Gotta handle one right.
As a player, what has been your favorite magic item you've received? And as a dungeon master, what's been your favorite magic item you've given or a player found?
Oh, dear Lord. I don't even know where to begin with that. Magic item that I've received. I mean, I'll be honest, the only magic item that I've ever received was the Staff of Magic Missile that let me cast more Magic Missile. That was in the second session that I had ever played, because the only spell that I ever cast was Magic Missile because I couldn't roll for shit.
That's a toughie.
God.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I figured. Brain scratchers.
I think probably the favorite magic item I've done at the moment that I can probably Dawnbreaker. So I gave my players a sword, and it was the one that transformed. It started as a +1 sword, and now it's become a +1 sword that also has the effect of the Mace of Disruption. And I think that's probably my favorite just because of the whole like story background tie thing that I was talking about too, because it's tied to a character in the past who has some relation to Django's character, and like I'm doing some more with him and so on and so forth. But probably that one. As far as magic items I've received, like I don't know, I'm not really a player very often, so like I don't know, the fucking handbed of intellect, like I don't.
We all, it's the Sword of Zariel, you know it.
Oh, that's true. Okay, yeah,
I was gonna say,
yeah,
you got
okay, that's true. I did. Okay, yeah. So
You
getting
got
the Sword of
big
Zariel,
MacGuffin.
yes, getting the Sword of Zariel and Avernus, that was a cool one. That's true. The only disappointment there was I wish we had more sessions so I could have killed some demons with it. But yes, that was a cool one, was getting the Sword of Zariel. That's fair. I did forget about that. So yeah, I guess those are mine. I'm trying to.
I have no idea what my
Yeah.
handing a magic item to someone like is, because like I like the Sword of Zariel, but like that wasn't my
Right.
item,
That wasn't it.
you know.
Sure.
Now I was excited for the moment that Zigzags picked that weapon up, and I had been waiting for it basically since I like read the whole scenario for
Yeah.
picking it up. But, like, I don't know. I'm kind of stuck between the cloak of billowing fog and the bow that Preston's currently using. The labyrinth.
I liked the bow because cool idea, but also it's very funny because Chris just, I don't know if this is just a thing Chris is doing as a player. I think this is a player thing on Chris's part, to be honest, but like he has it and he's just kind of like, yep, this is the thing I have, and he has not looked into it in any fashion. Nope. He just has it and he's like, yep, it's a magic talking bow, and he does not
It's
he
part
does
of me
not
now.
ask it any
No,
questions.
no.
He doesn't
I-
argue with
I-
it. No research, nothing. It's just a thing he has.
It is 100% a character thing. It's just that the way that Chris plays characters in particular, and I've talked to him about this. He's like, look, my character does not want to have anything to do with the Fae. The Fae kind of ruined his life, and now he's holding a bow with the Fae, and he's like, you know, if I look into this other than talking to it and maybe befriending it, it's gonna end really bad for me.
See, I
So,
feel like,
like,
okay.
He doesn't express that as a character very well. I will
Yeah.
admit, but like,
I feel like
it is
he could do more
100%.
with that, but I don't want to start putting
Yes.
on Chris on blast live. So,
I mean, he has mentioned in character though,
no,
like
he has mentioned.
yeah, he
like,
has
when-
mentioned like don't fuck with the
because,
Fae.
like,
I don't like the Fae. We're not dealing
I
with
don't
the
wanna
Fae.
be here.
Walks away, and you're like, wait.
Yeah,
stomps
like
away.
he has
Angie.
also no, I mean he didn't pop away, but like there were times where
No talk,
like
Angie.
Aridina was like, "Hey, Trust, you want to go talk to the Fae with us?" And he was like, "God, no."
Fuck no.
Like,
Hell to the no.
look at me. You seen what they've done to me?
Like, they make you all colorful.
So,
yeah,
you know.
it's cool, right? It's like,
Yeah.
no.
But I like the bow because, you know, it lets me like interact with Chris's character. I mean, also, again, another item where I'm like, yeah, that was really cool, and it let like really cool character stuff happen. The Dawn Blade, but again, not my item. You know, one of those, it's one of those things.
Lightsabers are cool.
Yeah,
Oh, the
lightsabers are
Sunblade
cool.
and Strahd.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a cool one. I feel like you're not giving yourself enough credit for the shield that made shield puns.
Yeah,
I'm
well,
just
the
saying.
problem with that one is I only made like 2 shield puns ever, and then like I couldn't
This
think
is
of any
true.
more.
Yeah,
Yeah,
still
then
a
we,
funny
then we,
idea.
and then we forego
And
Still a
And
good
then we
idea.
forgot it.
Yeah.
We forgot it.
I'll do me.
Isaiah.
So I think my favorite magic item I've ever given, again, not a magic item, but it's probably that collar choker thing. They like the
Oh,
mutagenic
yeah.
enhancement thing.
That's
'cause I've just
and
had-
that counts.
Yeah, and it's had so much narrative weight, and it's come up so much, and it's been like a crux to some characters' like emotional growth. because real quick, so the way that the thing works is that all the mutants in my setting have like a crystalline growth in their brains. That's just sort of like a battery of infinite energy from another somewhere that lets them use their powers. So the idea is like this thing that's like making us stronger was the direct cause of someone else's death, and like we're carrying around someone's remains to become stronger. And like there's been several talks where like, are we fucked up? Is this fucked up? Is this weird?
Are we the baddies?
Yeah. My favorite magic item I've ever gotten, I never got to use actually, and it was this fucking ridiculously powerful energy positron cannon thing that I made. That I took an out of game year of like every time there was downtime, every time I had a short rest, anytime I had like a minute to myself, I would be like, I'm working on my invention, and I wrote 4 pages of real notes in character about like my character's process on how he came to the conclusion, and like updates and failures based on research that I was doing in character at the time. I went so hard to make sure that everything went perfect, and it didn't end out the way that I wanted it to, and I never got to use it. But I was so fucking happy because it did like as much damage as an ancient dragon's fire breath as like a focused beam, and it just nothing happened. But it was
to be fair, the reason you didn't get to use it is because the campaign ended in a fiery explosion. So
yes, correct. But
that's a nice way to put it.
Which we talked about in episode 1. Call back.
Yeah. The amount of excitement and dedication I had to that item was just next to none. Two very close runners up for the one I've received was my like legendary sword in the Fire Emblem game. It's like Ike's sword if anyone plays Smash Bros, or if you just play Fire Emblem. Hell yeah. And other than that, it was the Demon Grinder. It was old Betsy, my girl.
Oh yeah, the Demon Grinder was very fun to
my baby girl.
You know what? That's right. Yeah.
Matt,
I
answer your own question.
No, go for it.
I was just gonna say, Isaiah, I feel you on the weapon thing, because like unfortunately this game hasn't received updates in years. But Souls of Steel, Josh ran a game for that long ago. I think it's almost been a decade now, right?
Not quite that long. But a long time
no. 8 years. 7 years, not 9. Down, not up.
I don't know.
I worked on a big fuck off mech sniper rifle for ages. That was my character's whole bit. And I think I got to use it for 2 sessions when I upgraded it. So I feel you.
Another runner-up was my lightsaber in the Star Wars game. That was a good one too.
I mean that one.
That was another one that you didn't get to use, right? God damn it!
Nope.
Isaiah.
Hey, just
again, look, the narrative weight for that lightsaber was so like the first sparking up that lightsaber. Fucking looking at a Sith and being like, I'm gonna lose this fight, but I have a fucking lightsaber. Let's go, baby.
I did. I will. I feel like give myself a little sucky. I did construct a good build up to that one. It was a good
that was
moment.
pretty good. I was miffed the entire time I didn't have a lightsaber, but it paid off.
Yeah, Matt.
I mean, look.
Well, you're gonna say Sam. No, I was waiting. I didn't want to interrupt Sam.
No, it's fine.
You sure?
Go.
Yeah, I want to hear Matt answer his own question.
Yeah. So as a player, the coolest or my favorite magic I've received is in the Storm King's Thunder game. Again, heavily homebrewed. The DM is doing a really good job of like integrating everybody's backstories and stuff. And my character is a lizard folk wizard. Normally wizard folk, they hate intelligence, they hate smart people, and I'm like the one out of the bunch that was like, Nabi, I like magic.
You're a rebellious teen lizard folk.
Basically. And throughout the campaign, in regards to my backstory and how my character learned magic, it involved an NPC who trained me and apparently ended up having a connection to Azuth, the god of wizards in D&D. And eventually it's this spell system that each school of magic gets this like almost like tattoos. They're called the Lost Spell. And I'm not sure where the DM got this from, but I love it. And each school of magic gets its own like tattoo, basically, based on one of the 8 schools of magic. And so right now, because I'm an abjuration wizard, I have the abjuration one. So it gives me a bunch of abjuration spells I can cast on a recharge per day. And it was just like a very cool like moment of I've achieved another like a grand I almost said it again. Another like step or level of wizard that like other wizards haven't yet. And I was like, oh, this is cool. It's like I have a mastery over magic that certain other people don't. And as a dungeon master, I think it was my player who, Wolf, I'm sorry, I love you, but
Matt, you can't just.
yeah. I say
Internet
that,
doesn't know that joke.
yeah. So I keep gasping like that because I have a fin of, I don't know, not hatred, but annoyance of the Hexblade Paladin Fighter Divine Sorcerer builds that people do. And not calling my buddy out, but he did something like that.
I mean, he did literally that. He did literally that. Straight up.
But
The joke here being you have to inhale before you say the entire list of classes. So the joke was the player became the player.
right.
And this is
But it was because his main class is Warlock, and he had a pact with the devil, and we switched it to Hexblade, but we just left it as devil. Doesn't matter. And it ended up involving them going. This is also right around the time where they're 18th, 19th level. So I'm like, I gotta throw some crazy nonsense at them. And Tome of Foes has like in the back of the book, like all the like these archdevils and powerful demons and shit you can throw at them. I don't know if you guys know what Garion is called. He's the guy with human torso, snake body, scorpion tail, giant red bat wings, and a trumpet.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And he was the former archdevil of, I think it's the 6th layer of hell, Levistus, which is the ice one, the cold one. So I just had this whole thing where the Warlock player's patron is trying to conquer it over Garion, and the players had to deal with Garion to weaken him so that the patron could come in and just be like, good job in weakening for me. Now I'm gonna steal the last hit like an asshole. And but the fact that the Warlock player basically went toe to toe with this crazy archdevil guy and held his own. Like it was like such a badass moment. And at the end, the Warlock patron gave him this super mega fire death sword, basically.
Big fuck off sword.
Yeah, I think I homebrewed one of the vestiges from the Wildmount book. The one that specifically is, I think it's one of the devil ones. And it does a lot of fire damage. And it was really cool. He fucking loved the shit out of it. And I felt like really cool because it was like this high point of the entire campaign of him being a warlock and worshiping this devil guy, and finally like being not only rewarded with obviously magic powers and everything, but like now the weapon of the patron, and basically being
good narrative weight.
Yeah. And at the end also the player was told like, so when you die, by the way, because you're now like probably my highest ranking warlock, you're gonna come back and you're gonna be my pit fiend and you're gonna lead my devil armies through the rest of hell, because this was only level 6. We still got we got 3 more levels to go. And he was just like, sick. Yes.
Nice, dude.
I think that's a wonderful stopping
Good
point
clincher.
right there. Going through the layers of hell as someone's pit fiend after you die. So yeah, anybody have any closing remarks for us today on this episode?
Basically, just make all your magic items Zanpakuto from Bleach, and you're good to go.
Yeah.
I feel
Honestly,
like that's a
good.
super specific preference.
I'm
It's very
sure
specific
we've got
reference.
some
It's
weebs
fine.
will find us. It's fine.
As long as if you're making a magic item for your players, as long as you're like, that's rad. Like, if you want to make something for your players, if you think that it's cool and you're excited about it and you sort of put it out there that it's something to be excited about, more often than not, your players will feed on that enthusiasm and they'll be excited too. And if you sort of provide them, without telling them explicitly, some interesting ways where they might be able to use that item that you have by maybe, putting that exact scenario somewhere in the game that's not directly behind where you get the item, they'll appreciate it. Even if they don't know that you know that they know that you know that you're kind of throwing them for the loop in the long run.
Yes, actual closing statements. Basically, loot, as far as like important loot, we'll say, because it's not always magic item. When it comes to important loot, I think the big trick is to just give some narrative weight behind them, whether that be the backstory of the item or how they got it or how it relates to a character. Narrative weight is often what makes loot cool. Getting a big pound of money or whatever is nice, but the story of how we dredged through the dungeon and found 5,000 gold at the very, 25th level, that's the part that makes it cool. So that's the secret, the sauce, the wasabi, if you will.
The story of how we murked 3 hags with a bag of holding and didn't take a single point of damage.
And then got 2 level ups for it.
And then got 2 level ups for it.
Yeah. It's not the level ups that were important in that scenario.
No. Just never have let you do that. Check my head. Matt, you ain't got anything for us?
Random tables are cool. Use them often.
Dice go clicky clack.
Yeah, dice go clickety clack. Gear yourself towards players. Yeah, everyone loves magic items, but learn from my mistakes. Don't shotgun. Don't throw them out like candy. Don't throw too many at them because then they will lose the luster.
Yeah, I think the carrot and the stick approach works wonders with players' magic items. Because they want it, and you don't have to give it to them; they have to work for it. Rather than just being like, here you go, here's magic, and here's an upgrade, and here's an upgrade. Because after a certain point, magic items just feel like kind of whatever.
Yep.
You're like, well, I got 1,000,000 plus 4 swords.
I put them all together, and then they become a plus 40 sword. That's how it works, right?
No, no, we're not. Okay, this is
we don't do that
the
here.
cutting off.
If I cast enlarge on my barbarian while he's holding 3 plus 4 swords.
Oh God! All right.
We duct tape them together with sovereign glue.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Sessions Canceled. You can check us out on Twitter, handle Sessions Canceled. But without that last E, thank you, Twitter.
Without that second, that very last E, not there. It's just LD.
Last E, not
Love
there.
you, Twitter.
Thank you. And you can check us out on YouTube, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and Stitcher.
And Apple.
Thank you. Oh, I said Google and thought it was Apple. There you
And
go. Thank you.
Google and Apple Podcasts. And also,
Yeah.
if you want to check out, again, shout out to Kevin DuBois, or DuBois. How do you say his last name?
Yeah,
DuBois. DuBois? Yeah. Kevin DuBois.
DuBois.
Find him on Instagram, Kevin DuBeast. Link in the description. Bada bingus.
Bada bungus. Let's go.
See y'all later.
Time for the jingle.